What is up, everyone? What is up? Happy Sunday, happy fun day. Although it's not fun for me, I basically threw my back out today. So I've had to do some serious adulting. I'm just gonna put it this way. Everyone talks about how they want to own a home and they think it'd be so great. It's not always great. So yesterday, happy oof, I have to go to work tomorrow day. Well, luckily I work from home. At least hybrid. But, yeah, so yesterday started off with a, nice time going to MicroCenter, which, by the way, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Hardware prices already starting to get ridiculous. I was there like 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, and I was already seeing prices go up. So I pulled the trigger on a few things that I'll take care of this later, because I was like, this is not looking good with the AI bubble, as we talked about. Anyway, so got to meet one of my followers, hung out with them, had lunch with them. They've known me for 3, 4 years online, and we finally met IRL because they were finally close enough. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to MicroCenter this day. Anyway, or what was it? He was like, hey, you want to meet up for lunch? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I tell him, what day, and I'm like, look, I'm planning to go to MicroCenter anyway, so why don't we go to a place nearby I happen to know. Go get some really great food. Hung out with them a little bit, see them oohing and awing at how large the MicroCenter is near me, because I'm near the flagship one. But yeah, I basically come home, start putting stuff around, started cleaning up the house, at least starting in the basement, because for those of you that are unaware, the network rack area has been filled with bins. Like, there were bins around it, and it was just kind of like a storage, and the utility room, I just kept throwing things in there and not organizing it. So I finally spent about 2 days cleaning and organizing everything to prepare for putting the servers that I have on below the network rack. And that, I don't want them directly on the ground, so I got these little plastic pallets and everything. I'll show you some pictures in a little bit. I put them on the Discord, so if you're already a member of the Discord, you should see it, but if not, you definitely should join it. The links are in bio. But yeah, hold on. Brought over the wrong menu here. Chief is sponsored by Big Blue. I kind of like blue. I'm basic that way. So the network rack, there used to be bins all around here. And then there was a filter. This is the filter over here, tucked in the back. Hey, thank you for the follow.
Jack3DG33K is now chilling in the lab.
I don't know how to say your name right, but yeah. Oh yeah, I started playing with TTS stuff. This isn't my own TTS running things. There'll be a mix of my own TTS processing in the near future. I gotta build the boxes out. This is to prepare for all that. So this is the network rack. You can see there's my firewall, there's my NAS, the power distribution unit. So I have to put desktops down here. That'll end up being servers, basically, that I'm putting together. So these little pallets raise at about foot off the ground, and Chief of Warcrafts. But yeah, then there's my little cart here with the monitor and a keyboard in case I need to plug into anything on the rack. So I had to clean that up, but that required reorganizing the entire utility room. Like, this was so much worse. Darko, one of my buddies you've seen on stream every now and then, and he's in the Discord as the second in command, basically, if anything happens. He actually will tell you, because he's been to my house, this was a mess. The water heater's right next to it, and as is the HVAC unit, and you could not really walk around it. Now I can do fully walk around it. I know where all of my tools are now. So all of my tools are... I have like 5 bins of tools. So I had the ADHD curse that many of you can... Jacked Geek. Username has... Oh, okay. Cool. My brain was not computing on that. Gave me memories of Apogee software with 3D realms. Yeah? But anyway, the thing that I had, I'm still on sale, what? Yeah, so anyway, I had a problem with tools being all around the house. I literally found 2 multimeters, you know, so I could do voltage, ohm resistance, all that stuff. So I found 2 of them, same exact one, 2 different ones. I found 5 tape measures, 3 stud finders, 2 of them are the exact same model. I found so many pliers and things like that because I just wouldn't, I thought I didn't have things, so I just kept buying. So now they're all in an area I know where they are. The same with all my Ethernet cables, too. There's 1 bin of Ethernet cables. As a victim of cheats, I can confirm the utility room was terrible. You haven't even been over. If I ever have extra tools, I try to give away until I lose them, and then I buy it again and realize, yeah. How many kilometers of Ethernet do you have? Well, I have 2 spools. One, I think, is down to like 500 feet of Cat 6A shielded, and then one of another 1,000 of Cat 6A shielded outdoor rated, which I gotta use for the spring network upgrade. I have to replace the 3 cables that were outside that were supposed to be temporary. 4 years later. So I'm finally going to replace them and then put another line outside so I can have an access point for the backyard so I can actually use my backyard in chill out over there. Because sometimes, unlike Arch users, I want to go touch grass. I want to have my laptop lay back and light a bonfire and then do my thing there. But yeah, so I went to MicroCenter because hardware costs are getting insane. I was already seeing things tick upwards. There were GPUs that were not too much more, but you can already see the dollar signs are trending upwards. There's a lot of pieces that I noticed were getting more expensive. RAM definitely is getting more expensive. So the trick that I've found is to... Instead of going for DDR5 right now. Now, DDR4 is not much better in terms of price, but it is a lot more approachable, shall we say. I have not actually gone to DDR5, except for my one laptop here from Tuxedo Computers. This is my only DDR5 device right now. This is running 96 gigabytes of DDR5. It was not that much more than the 64 gigabyte when I bought it a year ago. Now, it's insane. I'm running a 5950X, and I've been contemplating upgrading to the 9950X3D. But the RAM is what's been, you know, holding me back. So I settled on getting a GPU upgrade for the station. So this is my main workstation running Linux. It's Pop OS 2204. It has an NVIDIA 3070 in there to accompany my Ryzen 5950X. So I picked this up. And I finally just swallowed my pride and said, you know what, I'm gonna have to get it sooner or later, so sooner rather than later in terms of price. How much was that? $820. This was more expensive than when I originally started looking at it and planning for it. I was hoping to actually do an entire PC overhaul and rebuild maybe summer of next year. Instead, what I'm probably going to end up doing is I'm just going to repaste the system. So I have some Cryonaut, Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut coming in. I'll repaste the system, give it a nice cleaning, slap the GPU in, and deal with that for a while. It's got 64 gigs of DDR4. It's been a champ of a system. The only thing that kind of sucks, because I got this, is I also had to get this. Ugh. That. So, didn't have to get 850 watts, but I thought it would be a nice breathing room at least. Anyway, so I'm waiting for some custom cables to come in to keep with my theme that I have going here. And then the idea is the 3070 that's currently in here, I'm going to repurpose. Do I still have a 3D printer? Yeah, I still have my 2 3D printers. I do want to upgrade them, but Trump's tariffs have not really made that easy to do, because the printers I want are from the Czech Republic. And it's been wishy-washy with some days it's good, some days it's not, and all that. So I'll probably get a Prusa Core XY in a couple years or so, but they at least suffice for my occasional 3D printing needs that I need to do. I turn them on once in a while. One needs to still get a clog cleared out. I just haven't had time for it. So what I've been doing is I've been planning for it to be one of the projects I do after I clean a lot of my house up and build the rest of the machines that I have going. And then I'm going to give both of them a nice overhaul. New belts. You know, just give them a thorough once-over. Yeah. I found the 5070 OC on Amazon. You say 800. 5070 Ti. The 5070 Ti and 5070 are two completely different card lines. I think the Ti is because the Ti is 16 gigabytes of VRAM, and trying to remember what also the difference was, because I was looking at a 5070 or a 5070 Ti. For me, it was the VRAM difference. Now I know there is a I think there was a 16 gigabyte variant. Yeah, so RTX 5070 usually has 12 gigabytes versus 16 gigabytes, a wider memory bus of 256-bit versus 192, uses a little bit more power, and I think there's even more CUDA cores inside of it too. Like, just to give you an idea, these are what the benchmarks are saying. So 5070 Ti, 5070. It's about 21% faster in benchmarks over here. So, for me, it was more about the VRAM. I needed 16 gigabytes for a lot of the LLM work I'm doing now. The 5060 Ti I'm using has 16 gigabytes of VRAM. The 5070 Ti will give me some breathing room. Are you playing Eve Frontier? I don't play Eve. I haven't played Eve in years. Nothing against it. It's just times suck. But yeah, it's getting expensive. Memory's already going up. I think Yitz told me when he was looking at the memory kits, they're now going for 200. The same kits I was buying for 135, 145. I can't remember the exact price. DDR4 kits. It's not going to get any better in the near future. It's probably going to get worse. Look up Lando Norris on Google to see a cutesy animation. Why do I feel like this is going to be a Blue Waffles thing? Lando Norris. Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. They put a little firework thing on here. Let me see if I can reload this. So they put a little firework thing for him winning, I guess, the F1. Nice. Yeah, I know you were watching the F1 race. I watched that a little bit here and there. I did get to watch the Indy 500 many years ago, too. That was interesting being there in person. Seeing the cars just whir by you like a blur in person. It's insane. I was puckered all the way to the end. I bet you were. But yeah, it's not going to get any better in terms of hardware costs and everything like that for the near future. At least in the near future, it's going to get worse. Yeah. I am not looking forward to it. That's why I actually, trying to find where I was on the review on stream. That's why I actually was like, I'm just going to bite the bullet. Get the hardware that I was planning to get anyway next year, now. So the plan is, we already have the LLM server built, Franken LLM. I got to move that to its own VLAN and move it downstairs near the rack that I had cleaned out that I showed you earlier. I am also going to be setting up a TTS server. I have my firewall upgrade server coming in. Your videos were eaten by a Nyan Cat. So I have a new pfSense firewall coming in, so I will be able to migrate everything over there. There might be some pfSense content in the near future, and then I will be moving everything that used to be on the original pfSense hardware, the Intel Atom hardware. I'm moving to a Xeon D for a little bit better processing, but Xeon D is still low power. So I'm still focusing on the energy efficiency of it. But the Intel Atom box is going to get upgraded to 64 gigabytes of DDR4 ECC memory. And then I'm going to move the 16 gigabytes of DDR4 ECC that are in that to the new box, because pfSense doesn't really need more than that. 16, even in a enterprise firewall, is insane. Yeah, the 64 is going to go into the Intel Atom, and that's going to be running all the Docker servers that I've been running for all of my little bots and, fun little things that we're doing inside of Discord, the things that, automate when I'm, announce when I'm live on all the different platforms and various other things. So that will also be hosting N8N. So we'll have some content around that. Now, once I get to upgrading this station over here, I will be moving the NVIDIA 3070 here to its own box, which I already have a spare CPU and motherboard. Didn't have to buy it. I already had it on hand. I just had to get memory and a case and a power supply. So I'm taking the power supply out of this machine, still fine, and the GPU from this machine, putting it into what is essentially a new computer with used parts except for the case and memory. And that is going to be my new R&D server for me using LLM as possible moderation. So the idea is, there's of course moderation stuff that I have inside of Discord and that I have on Twitch. But I was thinking, there's stuff that does slip by occasionally, and I would like it to actually potentially catch a lot of that stuff that gets missed and have a workflow there that the moderators can actually respond to and reduce some moderator fatigue. Pros versus con of N100 mini PC firewall or N305 PC router. Let me look up the N305 and the N100 just to make sure that I am not off base here. Oh, I didn't see the hello over on the YouTube side. Sorry about that. Not trying to ignore you. Let's see. Intel N100. So the Intel N100... Okay, so that's not bad. Here, I'll pull up the spec sheets for both. You said N305? Okay, so the N100 is already pretty capable to be a firewall CPU on its own. I'm just going to be honest. When it comes to networking hardware, you don't really need a lot of power. But when you do intrusion detection and intrusion prevention with like Suricata or Snort, that's where you need to have a little bit more power. So I think you'll be fine with either one of these. But I will say, if you are leaning more into doing IDS IPS eventually with like Suricata, like I'm doing, you're probably going to want to lean more towards the N305. That's the only reason I would say that, but depending on how many rules you enable anyway, you'd probably want to look more at a Xeon D processor, like I've talked about, because I'm just curious. I don't think this has AVX in there. Oh wait, it does! That's actually really good. So yeah, this actually could do pretty well. The reason why I upgraded to a Xeon D was I wanted to keep ECC memory and get AVX2. So what AVX2 is allows you to have more instructions per second on certain things. So yeah, either one of these would be more than enough for, I'd say, multi-gigabit IDS IPS. Yeah, I think you'd be fine with either one. Now, the N100, you'll be fine. You probably won't complain. The N305 will just give you a little bit more breathing room if you start doing more complex stuff with the firewall. But if you're just, you know, setting up a firewall like pfSense, even OpenSense, and you should be fine. Sorry, my brain is a bit spent from all the stuff today. What I was saying is the N100 will be more than enough for most people in a home lab doing whatever you want to do. I'm just saying, the AVX2, that surprised me. The only thing here, and again, this is more in the want category, not the need category. I like to have ECC memory in my firewall. That's error correction code. The reason why is it allows a more stable system. These are systems that are always going to be on. And what ECC is, for those of you not aware, it's an extra bit they add for parity in the memory so that if a bit gets flipped, it can correct that. And it only takes like 2 or 3 flipped bits to crash an entire computer. So when you're running a system for a long period of time, the possibility is there. But again, this is a want, not a need for a home lab. And if you're looking at that, by the way, for ECC, you then have to go into like the Intel Xeon D or the Intel Atom Server Edition, like I've been using already. And the Atom Server Edition's a little bit older, but yeah. But either way, what I'm trying to get at before I got on the tangent is either one of these CPUs is going to be great. I think it's phenomenal. 4 core, 4 threads, so you have no SMT, simultaneous multi-threading, aka hyper-threading. You've got 6 megabytes of cache, and the nice thing here is it's 6 watts. So that's very energy efficient for a firewall. I think the one I'm looking at is about 35 watts. The only thing that, you know, will be of question, because this looks like it can accept DDR4 or DDR5, is what unit you're actually going to be getting. What memory the unit you're getting supports. Because right now, DDR5 prices are through the roof. But with that being said, the max that it supports, 16 gigabytes, is literally the max that you'll probably ever want in a firewall. 8 gigabytes is already more than enough than what you'll need. Unless you're doing IDS, IPS, you can probably get down to like 2 or even 4. You're not going to use a lot. Could these PCs run a few VMs too with the simple firewall? So you could run a few VMs, but I would not run a firewall and VMs on the same machine. The reason why, and this is just very simple, basic stuff. And again, I'm not saying you can't do this. I'm saying you shouldn't do this. I see people, use Proxmox and run pfSense on top of that and then do some fancy voodoo magic to, have the pfSense and the VM actually be that. The problem is it's not isolated to its own device. So if anything potentially happens, not that this is very likely, but it is possible. Let's say they have a hypervisor break or whatever. They can have access to more resources in your network. I always keep my network firewall a separate appliance. It is always its own thing, just doing the firewall and routing and everything it needs on that one box. And then when I want to run VMs, I have another dedicated machine for that. Could you run VMs on this? Yes, you could. But if you were going to do VMs, I would go for the N305 because you have 8 cores, 8 threads. And you can only provision so many resources to different things. But the honest truth is, I'm not saying there isn't a case for virtual machines, but I'm saying Docker might be better with devices like these. The reason being is that 8 threads is not an awful lot in the grand scheme of things for virtualization. It used to be back in the day, but these days 8 threads is not a lot. You'll probably want to dedicate at least one of those to the system at any given time, and then that leaves you 7 to be used with any VMs. A lot of machines are going to probably want 2 or 3, maybe more threads for their own processing. So there's not a lot that you can do with that. That's why I would, recommend, if you're, well, let me put it this way. If you're looking at an inexpensive device to just play around with that idea and everything like that, go for it. But I wouldn't plan on it being like, oh, this is going to be my forever box, because trust me, as you tinker with more and more stuff, you're going to build more virtual machines, and eventually you're going to exceed the limits of it. But also, 16 gigabytes of memory is the max you can have in an N100 or N305, and 16 gigabytes on a virtual machine is not a lot. So you'll definitely want a machine that you can have. Ideally, when you're starting to do a virtual machine, you're going to want to look at least 32 gigabytes. The more the merrier when it comes to RAM and processor availability. Cost-effective wise, you'd probably want to look at an AMD system. You can get some mini PCs. I know I picked up one for my ham shack, which has a Ryzen 5700U, which is 8 cores, 16 threads. So you have a little bit more breathing room on that. So you can logically provision 15 different things, and you'll be able to have a little bit more memory capability. You want 512 gigabytes of RAM. Buddy, what would you do with 512 gigabytes of RAM? Use it as a RAM disk for all of your, furry femboys stuff? That's my mod. I can tease him. What's up, Bando Pix? Let's catch up on the chat. I feel like 5 minutes getting your DM since Discord is slow. I went to MicroCenter to buy RAM and it was a mistake. Oh yeah, RAM has been really expensive. I was just talking about that, and I've honestly been telling a lot of people, if you have any projects you are planning to do, not just within the next month, but the next year, consider weighing your options and possibly going out and buying the hardware now. I'm not saying, again, this is like, you're gonna have to do some, personal, not introspection. You're just going to have to look at your own finances, your own goals and priorities, and what you can do to budget, because it's not going to get much better in terms of the RAM issues. From what I was hearing, talking to the people at MicroCenter, a few of them were actually like, I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to keep a job, because they're mostly commissions based. A lot of those people in the DIY section. And if people aren't buying hardware, they're not going to make money. So it's going to get brutal. What do you think of Hetzner? Hetzner's okay. I've used them in the past for a previous employer. I haven't used them too much, though. So I just can say from the limited exposure that I've had with them, they're okay. I don't have any negative comments, complaints, or anything. Thought about a small form factor PC with low power power usage. There are systems out there, so let me show you some stuff I was looking at. So there's a vendor out there called Supermicro. They've been around for a while. They make some really, really quality systems. I'm not sponsored. I've talked about how I like Supermicro systems for many years. Okay? They make seriously powerful systems, but they also make some really good embedded products. So you can get like GPU servers, things like that. So I will be honest, their website is horrible to navigate. I will be honest there. So sometimes it's like you have to look around and see what you kind of want. So they have like these mini 1Us. You can get some nice stuff in there. So you got like Intel Xeon E 2300. You've got some, options out there. This isn't all they have. This isn't even the one that I got. But you can see you can have up to 128 gigabytes of DDR4 ECC memory. You got a PCI Express X8 slot in 4.0. And you got two 1 gigabit ports on an Intel iX network interface card with 8 cores, 16 threads. And this is designed as a lower power unit. So let's look up the Intel Xeon E2300. E2300. Okay, that's the product brief. Of course, they always do stupid things. Okay, so they have some stuff there. Of course, they never can just give you the ARC page. But yeah, you can have up to 8 cores. There we go. That's what I was looking at. Now, these are a little bit hotter. Anywhere from 65 watts to 95 watts. If I have 16 gigabytes on my client machine and a mini PC with 32 gigabytes, how would you set up a home lab? Well, it depends on what you want to do as a home lab. Home labbing, there is no one clear-cut answer to a home lab. I can show you 5 different people that have 5 different home labs, because it's more about the priority that you have for yourself to experiment and learn. For cyber experience and network experience. So, I'm going to be honest, for a lot of the things, you probably don't have enough hardware to do everything. But what I would at least do to start out with networking and a little bit of cyber, it's not so much on the memory side of things, but I'd probably take that 16 gigabyte system, make that, what do you call it? Make that into a pfSense firewall. You'd probably need a managed switch on top of that. And then you can start playing with allow listing, block listing. I IDS, IPS, intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems with Suricata. You can then look at, running your own VPN server potentially. If you get some Raspberry Pis, you can then put on zero trust network access easily with something like TwinGate. The 32... It's also about the CPU too. If you have a 32 gig machine, you can do some VM stuff, but you can also turn that into a SIM SOAR. Well, not really so much of a SOAR because you need more stuff, but you could at least play probably a 32 gigabytes of memory. Yeah, you could probably do Wuzza on there. You could do Grafana for the dashboard, stuff like that. Intel i7 vPro. Okay, yeah. You'd be pretty good for a lot of that stuff. But, yeah, networking I generally recommend for pfSense. And I know a lot of people are like, well, what about OpenSense? I've used it. Maybe things have changed, but I know pfSense so well that I'm comfortable with it. Maybe one day things will change, but I refer people all the time that are wanting to learn networking to pfSense primarily because the pfSense documentation actually does a good job of teaching you some fundamentals inside of networking. So if you look up just the pfSense documentation, in the beginning section you have this entire thing of networking concepts. So from here, it literally is walking you through a lot of the basics you would probably want to learn in a home lab. And it has some pretty good breakdowns of how their systems work and the different various components in there. Not so much, how they would have you configure it, but maybe some will have examples of how you could. pfSense costs money. No, it doesn't. It costs you the hardware. That's it. Now, if you go to buy an actual pfSense official Netgate hardware, yes. But I have never paid for pfSense in my entire time using my home lab. Will pfSense translate to enterprise firewalls like Palo Alto and FortiGate? Yes. So no matter what you choose, okay? My background is pfSense, WatchGuard, Sophos, a little bit of SonicWall, and the Unify stuff. I know the concepts that I can easily, and I have done that, where I go into a Cisco and then I'm just like, okay, how do I do the Cisco way of doing things in Cisco iOS? I just have to learn how to translate it into how they specifically do it. But that's the same thing with any vendor. So, the other thing is that pfSense, you'll actually sometimes come across in data centers and in various businesses. There's a lot of businesses that do use it. Using Linux now thanks to you. Hey! That's great to hear. Why can't I do X when you're live? You need to speak in the past tense more because I'm running out of jokes. Is that the joke? But yeah, no, my pleasure. What I tell people a lot of times when it comes to a lot of these things in home labs, don't get so hung up on, I need to learn specifically for this vendor, unless you have a specific reason to do that, like you want to specifically know how Cisco iOS operates and stuff like that. Focus on just getting the open source equivalents to everything. Learn the concepts from there, and then you can adapt that to everything. So, for example, I use Datadog at work. I use Grafana at home for a lot of my dashboards. I'm doing a lot of the same things. Now, admittedly, Grafana is way better than Datadog. I'm just going to say that. But I'm basically building an entire logging server with a SIM soon using Wuzza. And that's going to be able to correlate information and tie it together from the firewall, the switches, the endpoint detection and response, and then I can build rules based on that for different alerts. And it's really the same concept when you're doing Splunk, when you're doing CrowdStrike Next Gen SIM. There's many other solutions out there. So these concepts will translate. That it won't take you too long to actually just pivot into a new vendor. You just got to learn how to translate it. You think I could do stand-up at DEF CON? You could. Don't know how people would feel about it, but yeah. Last Travels was on YouTube with that guy did. Oh, yeah, everyone's been talking about that, but I just have no interest in watching Linus tech tips. I'd watch it for Linus Torvalds, but I also know a lot of people have been leaving Linus's channel so that they can go do their own thing, and I don't know. Would recommend NetData for a smaller lab, or is Prometheus plus Grafana the standard? I have honestly not played with NetData. I've been using Prometheus and Grafana. I've been using Grafana for years. I love Grafana. I can tie anything I want into it and visualize it however I want. And I haven't run into a single data source that it couldn't work with yet. Use WireGuard on occasion, but for my home lab, I'm moving away from VPNs and more so into zero trust network access. So that'll be the project that comes up in the next few weeks. I have some Raspberry Pi 3B pluses that'll be my nodes. Is that your vape? What vape? I don't vape. This is water. That's water. That'd be a frickin', you know, weird-ass vape. What was that video? What was that the video broke up? What? Oh, the WireGuard? I use it on occasion. I am moving more into zero trust network access stuff, though, than dedicated VPN stuff for remote access to my systems. That's the most monstrous box mod I've ever seen. Yeah, so we're not running 18650s or even 21700s. We're running 186,500s in here. They're 10 times the size. What about site to site? Site to site is different. I don't have multiple sites to worry about, so I don't need to worry about WireGuard and stuff like that for my own stuff. I haven't really set a site to site up in many years. I don't really do networking so much at work outside of Zscaler. It's just how it is. We were gonna have an intervention. Although I used to vape, but my vape was primarily CBD. I'd never done nicotine vapes. I've tried them a couple of times just to see what the hype was for people that use them, and it gave me too much a head rush. But I've only done CBD vapes. I liked it because, you know, it was interesting to, you know, mod the actual parts and mechanical mods and, you know, play with it, but it's an expensive hobby. Ready for Teflon. Any good solutions for RDP that free into family computer to help with basic stuff? I haven't had to really do that for family all that much. So if you're dealing with Windows family and you have a Windows computer, if you have the professional version of Windows, you can actually remote into their computer using built-in tools. What is it called? I forget what it's called, but there's something built into Windows for that. But generally speaking, when it comes to my family needing help, a lot of times I have to go over in person because I don't need to most of the time it's, hey, something's actually wrong with the computer itself. But you can totally, you know, of course, use apps like TeamViewer, LogMeIn, stuff like that. I've used TeamViewer on occasion. I'm not, you know, necessarily saying, yeah, use this one completely. My actual usage for family to be remoting into them is so few and far between, and most of them are using Windows anyway, so I just use that, what's it, Quick Support. Quick Support, I think it's called. Quick Assist. So yeah, with a lot of my family, I generally just use Quick Assist, even if I have to spin up a Windows virtual machine and then use Quick Assist in there. I hope Chief can make my set at Circus. I don't want bed bugs! Watching it on my YouTube on TV. Oh, nice. Chief, we need to put you in AAA. Well, I already have my AAA card. I've, hit my 5 years. Yep. 5 years. Roadside assistance. It's been a journey. Hi, my name's Moshe. And I need to get roadside assistance once in a while. They're on Win 10. Yeah, and? You can still use Quick Assistant stuff on Windows 10. It came out before Windows 10, if I recall. Rust Desk. Never heard of it. Here's Apache Guacamole and Rust Desk. Okay. I'm not familiar with it. Unfortunately, I've kind of fallen out of touch with the average IT support ways. That's one of the benefits or disadvantages, I guess you could say, of throwing out a lot of your toxic family from your life. Rust Desk is open source. Let me check this one out. Hold on. Oh, interesting. This. I'm curious. How does it work? Okay, so they have an open source plan here, but they also have a hosted plan too. I wonder what the resources are to get this running. Like, do I have to actually have this out in the cloud, I'm presuming? Self-host. Oh, you can self-host the Pro version. Interesting. They have a Dockerized version. Server requirements. Size traffic regularly. Okay. Oh, they recommend the Docker. Nice. Service the system D, configure the client. Oh, so you don't have to have this like hosted up in like DigitalOcean or AWS or anything. I could actually host this on my network. Nice. Honestly, I love the vibe on your channel. Thanks. Hey, thanks for hanging around, Devil's Advocate. Have a good night. Happy hacking, bud. Thanks for coming by. I've been using Rust a few years now. You can use it local. Nice! Huh, I'll have to keep that in mind in the future. I just haven't had a need to remote into any family's computers. That's still good to know. I'm gonna go to their GitHub. And we're gonna star that so I don't forget it. For a lot of you that are not aware, yes, I have a GitHub. Yes, I use it a lot. Have you? I kind of figured that's what you meant. You know what I mostly get called for is to wire up the internet box and set it up for, or RAM die. That's pretty much what it worked, how it goes. Or power. Things like that, or the disk has gone bad, you know, like, there's legitimately issues with it. How would I quickly test my computer just to see if there's any malicious programs running besides Task Manager? Well, first of all, you check for Windows and then you remove it. No, I'm kidding. No, you can use like, so built into Microsoft is Windows Defender. You can do a check with that way. Of course, that won't catch everything. So there is Malwarebytes for anti-malware, of course. Bitdefender is my preferred antivirus in the consumer space. I think they have a free version, if I'm not mistaken, that might at least work. Yeah, they have a free one. Although, if you want to pay for it, I mean, not that I'm saying you need to buy antivirus, but that should do. Is Malwarebytes still valid? I mean, it's okay, but I wouldn't use Malwarebytes and an antivirus. They can conflict very often, and I've seen that. Because it'll eat a lot of resources. Unless you're doing like Malwarebytes as a one-off where you just run the scan manually. Because a lot of times people will use the Malwarebytes Pro that they give you a free trial for, and then that actually runs in the background. And I mean, it's a okay anti-malware program, but as far as the whole picture of protection, it's not the best. It's great at what it does, but it's not what I would recommend for, you know, like protecting everything. Chief, what you think of GLINET? Okay, let me look at this. I think that's the site that has the little mini, crap, what do you call it? There's a term for this. KVM over... Yeah. That was it. I was like, right as I was loading, I was like, is it a KVM? Yeah, it's KVM over internet. Okay. The Comet. This is nice. How much is this going for? $90. Not bad. So, Ethernet port, Type-C power port, so it can do HDMI, USB 2.0 for the keyboard and all that. That's not bad. Oh, that's a cute little board. I mean, this is nice. Oh, that's interesting. You can do 4K video. I wonder if they're going to be able to keep that price, though. Well, DDR3L, 1 gigabyte. I mean, that should work fine. And shouldn't be too constrained. I do like this whole idea of it. I think there was, I think, were they the company that made other KVMs? Like, there was this one little tiny one, I know, Wendell on Level Text. Yeah, I think it was this. The Comet Pro. This one I really like because of the display and I could know what the computer is. Or the IP address and stuff. But I mean, I like those. Oh, that's cute. A mechanical arm that presses your power button reliably. I had a joke about that many years ago. I'm gonna make an automation to just have the computer commit seppuku. Had to reimage my laptop with Windows. It crashed with Parrot OS dual boot. It doesn't like secure boot. Yeah, secure boot will mess up a lot of things. I don't like the fact that Microsoft introduced secure boot and then thrusted it all upon us. Love DL net routers. I use them for Netflix bypass WireGuard. Nice. Yeah, I've been seeing their stuff and they look pretty nice. I haven't really heard complaints. But yeah, that looks like a nice little KVM thing. I may throw it eventually in my lab. but I just don't know what I would use in my lab for a KVM. Because here's the thing. Anything I need to access, I would access with ZTNA and then SSH. I mean, I'm not hating on it at all. Like, if I had a Windows Server box or something like that, that'd be great. I'll have to think about that if there's any use cases. Because that's like one of those things I do want to actually play with, but I just can't really see the personal value in it. Again, great device. Ooh, sponsorship. Yeah, if you want to hit them up and tell them, hey, there's this guy, he does content, hit him up. Sponsor a video of his. Look, it's not like I haven't taken sponsorships before. I took the Doppler sponsorship as well, but my criteria in order for me to accept sponsorship is, 1, I get to review the product. 2, I get to have free reign on whatever I say about the product, including the feedback or any things that I find negative about it. I must be able to be authentic. I must be able to be truthful to my audience. I've turned down so many different sponsorships. Like, who was it that came? Oh yeah, Opera GX actually hit me up a couple years ago, wanted me to, you know, get like a few G's to sponsor an Opera GX video, and I told them to pound sand. Or TCH. What? I think you got a typo in there. Big fan of Linode. Yeah, I like Linode. I don't know how I feel about them since Akamai bought them out. This is one of the OG Linode shirts. PowerShell's complexity. Hey, buddy. PowerShell confuses me too. The syntax is really weird. Trust me, you're not the only one. Bash, Python, they make sense to me. PowerShell? See, someone is getting sued over review. I heard something about that a while ago. I guess we can go into the... I did not know that it could do text-to-speech, and I hit that button on accident. Freaked myself out. I was like, no, you don't need to read the comment for everyone. Thank God I don't have that part hooked up. You are my entertainment while I bring the Browns to the Super Bowl. Will the Browns ever make it to the Super Bowl? Because I think the only thing that Browns is really good at is, well, living up to their name. Customer support is still awesome. What? Too long didn't read. They got a free gym to test. Other testers boxed it up and shipped it to them, and then they review it and got sued. I ate Chipotle. I'm in pain. Ooh. Okay, so I'm not going to watch this whole video here. But let's at least see what he's got
everybody,
going.
How's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. So today I want to follow up in a video that I did 2 months ago on a company called Cami Research. This company thought that I owed them $100,000 for publishing their own words.
Oh yeah, this one.
I responded, and within 1 day of my response, the law firm that was representing this company fired them. And one of the things I said in that video is that I'm not just trying to get them to leave me alone. I'm trying to change the culture on YouTube a little bit and demonstrate that people should stop taking taking their review videos down the moment that a company yells and tries and says, I'm going to sue you because you said something bad about me. Because usually the way this works is somebody puts up a review of a product.
I agree. You should not be able to.
After putting up that honest review, the company will then threaten to sue the YouTuber, and they'll go, I'm sorry, I'm going to take down the video for 6 to 18 months until my audience commits to supporting me, by which time people will forget that I ever said anything about your product. Please don't hurt me. And when that
So there's only ever been one video I've actually taken down, and it was because I actually agreed with the company. So y'all may remember that Linus Tech Tips had a video in the CompTIA A+, and I reacted to his video on stream, and, you know, of course, put the live reaction on YouTube. Sometimes I do that. CompTIA went hard on Linus because you have to understand, he definitely violated the agreement that that you signed when you took the test. He violated their copyright. He recorded himself taking the test. He repeated the test. Like, when I went for my CISSP, there was a lot of things I had to agree to. One of the things is, I'm not allowed to reproduce you know, the exam or record myself, things like that. I can give you guys ideas of what the test, you know, could contain, but I can't tell you exactly what will be on the test, if that makes sense. Although, everyone's going to get different questions. CompTIA definitely got him to remove the video, because he did remove the video. And then they followed up with, you know, cleaning up, you know, any other references to it. They reached out to me personally, and I believe they also reached out to Network Chuck separately. Never gotten to actually interact with him in person. Nothing against them, just making that clear. Anyway, they came to us, and what I can understand, Network Chuck was kind of told the same thing. Hey, we're not opposed to what you said in the video. We agree with you, you know, and all the points there. The issue is that by virtue of reacting to his content, you know, it's a whole, like, thing, you know, because we basically showed the test and all that other stuff, and it was all about, what's the term that we say? Basically, we're just, you know, preserving the professional nature of the certification and our field. That was a take we had on it. They had no issue with us. In fact, they were so nice to me. Afterwards, they're like, look, if you just remove the video, it's fine. You know, we just, you know, would like to do that. And they even opened the door to, you know, getting some free training for some of their classes. So actually, still haven't gone through with that. I've just had so many things on my plate. But they were nice. That was the only thing they ever, you know, talked to me. And it was the same. It was basically, we had the same. We agreed on the same opinions and everything. I was like, okay, I'll just take the video down. But yeah, that's also one of the reasons of many. I just don't watch Linus. I just don't. I can't. It feels like he's so desperate to be making content that he's just zooming right by morals and ethics.
Happens, it sends a message that false and bullshit legal threats will actually work. So what I said in this video is that if you do not take your video down when a company says they're going to sue you, that I will pay $10,000 of your legal bills if you do decide to keep your video up and they decide to proceed with a lawsuit. So I would like to extend that offer over here, and well, let's just go over what's going on with this story. So this is a review from Gluck's Gym. It's a great YouTube channel that goes over some fitness equipment. He reviewed this, and the review
Yes, it was Network Chuck. He was really angry at Linus. I was angry at Linus too.
And I'll just play a couple of clips from the review to get started.
Done. I got this. Woo! We dancing with that cable slack. Now you think that's bad? I spent another half a day tweaking, modifying, and changing things to get it this good. And I have about a 50 email comment chain back and forth with the company, trying to figure out what I did wrong.
Okay, so this guy did a review of gym equipment, apparently.
People have different preferences in how tight the cables are. No, they don't. All we want is a tight cable, so when we pull on it, it's responsive. This is awful.
And
I
he also
agree.
goes over we're trying to do horizontal pull with this thing.
Those big 300-pound stacks, I've got 300 pounds to work with. The two-door
That's a
ratio
lot of
is
slack
mine
on a
ends up being
machine, by the
1:1.
way.
You get 300
That would
pounds.
make me uncomfortable to work
This is
out with
great.
it too.
And when I'm done with my set, I just break my own feet, because the only way I can get range of motion, this weight is now sitting on my bones, my feet right now, is to telescope this thing out, and the range of motion still sucks. The whole thing's awkward.
Jesus.
And that's with me completely ignoring the fact that I've got 2 different cable lengths here, because that's
So this company has 2 choices. Behind door number 1, they can take this honest feedback, say thanks
Keeps
for giving your
declining.
opinion.
How much
We're
longer
gonna
they're going to
make
be
these updates to
around?
the product.
I think they'll be
And,
around, but they're kind of just in a shell of themselves. A lot of the
Door
great
number
people
2,
are leaving.
File a bullshit frivolous
I'm
lawsuit,
watching
which appears to
a
be
few of the
choice they've
people that
decided
actually
to take. I would like to support
were
him in this case.
formerly on
I
LTT.
saw that he has a GoFundMe. My original plan was to cover the $10,000 of legal expenses, the first $10,000 of legal expenses, and it seems like many people in this GoFundMe have already beat me to it. I believe the GoFundMe was at about $3,000 when I started this
Yeah,
video.
zip tie, what is it, zip tie auto?
I will happily throw in $10,000 if you send the bills directly to me. Because if I give to a GoFundMe, the fucking the fee is going to be like 5 or 10% or some shit. So after the $3,000 or $4,000 that this GoFundMe is at the time that I'm filming this video, feel free to send the invoices for the law firm to Rossman New Media Inc., 2410 San Antonio Street, Austin, Texas 78705. Just to introduce myself to Enz and Archer LLP and Roderick J. Enz. Hi, how's it going? I'm Louis Rossman. I have a YouTube channel where I show
Company
people,
kept sending the
back in
guy
day how to fix Apple
part
products.
after
When
part
Apple
and told
didn't
him
like that I was publishing
something
their
about the
schematics on
Slack
the
being
channel.
fine.
Their law firm, Kilpatrick and Townsend, asked me to take them down.
Slack on a workout machine is, in most cases, never fine. There should be no slack. We want to be extra responsive. The only slack that you should have is when you're, at your reset point. At most. When you start setting it and then you want that tension so you can get that full range and everything going in. Even on my Bowflex I have in my gym, the small little gym I have, that Bowflex so that I can fit it in a small room, I don't really have slack. There's like a little play, but that's where you kind of want it there.
Instead of take them down, they have every single one of those videos has remained up today. And
Sent him bad, hard to read manual, and he had to use a photo on their website to build.
Laws that a $3 trillion company did not
That's
want passed,
bad.
and they were. When DCS decided to sue this gentleman for telling the truth in his product review, he won. When Google sent me a letter asking us to cease in publishing a particular piece of software called GrayJ, we essentially gave them the middle finger and continued doing it, and Google has not won. When BWE tried to have my videos going over his business practices taken down, not only did we have his business taken down, but we also did the investigative work to figure out that he was an abusive
forgot about
pedophile.
that.
And yeah, that was...
That was a whole trip. I forgot about that entire story. So yeah, I think it's unfortunate that there are quite a few companies out there that are suing people for reviewing their product because they said a bad thing. Look, let me put it this way. I've reviewed companies that, they've given me products, okay? Doppler, for example. The only complaint I had when I was first using Doppler was the documentation. They took that feedback, completely overhauled it, hit me back up several months later, and said, hey, we've taken your feedback, we overhauled the entire documentation. Can you take a look at it and see, if you have any other comments or concerns? And I looked through it, and I'm like, actually, this is great. I like what you did. And I gave him, little, I think I added, I told him, you just add this little point here for this situation or that. I forget what the specific was, but that's how a company should operate. And that's why I have no problem working with Doppler. They have a good product. I like their product. The company is receptive to feedback, as a company should be. But yeah, if you're sent a product, you should be able to review it. So let's continue on into the review on stream. We got a list to go through here. What is this? Lego mouse?
Every so often, there's a new computer mouse that demands our collective attention, and man, if only Lego thought of this sooner. If you've ever wanted to feel like a life-size plastic Danish person while you're working or gaming, then the modular bricked-up sham-shell clicker from KDB Craft is gonna scratch a very specific itch for some of you. It comes disassembled in a little box with all the parts and instructions you need to build.
Okay,
the
that
thing, just
seems like
Legos.
it'd be a
Well,
fun
usually
idea.
You just plop the Hogwarts castle or
I just don't know if that would actually be comfortable to use long term.
You can actually use the creation as a legitimate input device. It's also got the option for users to either use low profile keyboard switches or traditional mouse ones. So not only can you adjust how the thing looks and feels, but also how it sounds. Currently, the
That's nice.
shell's up on a Kickstarter page, but I legitimately hope they hit their goal because we'd really like to get our hands on one of these.
I think it'd be a fun little thing to build. I love Legos. Let's see. Vampire had another video. Maybe at Starbucks for neck-breaking stairs. Wait, what? We got Youth Pastor Ryan. Actually like this guy.
Upwork,
He's
what
funny.
do you make, buddy?
Oh God, Upwork! Oh, I remember this crap. Oh, and the scam from that.
Uh-oh. We run the largest freelancer platform in the world.
And you're a massive scam. You stole $1,847 from me, buddy.
Oh no! Did one of our freelancers scam you?
No, you did, but you do seem to be extremely comfortable with scams happening on your platform.
Well, yeah, because when the scams happen, we still get our cut. Oh, I said the inside part out loud.
So I hired an animator on your website. He'd done dozens of jobs successfully. You recommended him. I paid him the deposit. We'd been communicating great. And then right before a deadline, you banned his account.
Well, what did he do?
You refuse to say.
Oh, yeah, we do that. Well, if you want a refund, you can contact him.
But you've deleted the only way I can communicate with him.
Yeah, I guess you can't. Well, in that
Good
case,
God.
credit to us, a platform you've had such a great experience with.
Oh, I can have half my money back in credit to a scam? Nah, I'm just gonna do a credit card chargeback.
Wait, you can't do that. That goes against our terms and services, unlike all those things we just did to you.
So you took my money, took your cut, and I received no goods or services. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Also, I've worked with a group called the Association of Payment Professionals before. They're real smart people. And I learned from them that if a company gets enough chargebacks, that company will pay higher processing fees, higher penalties for chargebacks, and could potentially lose their entire ability to accept credit card payments. That sounds like it would sting, wouldn't it?
Why did you even want to use us anyway?
Because for a story I wrote, I wanted a real animator, not AI.
What? That's so dumb. We use and heavily invest into AI, and the game plan's pretty clear. We build a platform profiting off freelancers, you know, the people that are most likely to lose their jobs to AI. And then we take that profit and we invest in AI to take their jobs.
Holy crap.
We're literally having
I didn't know that bad
pay for their
about that they were that bad.
You know, we're evil.
Yeah, I knew that Upwork was bad. I've heard a lot of stories, which is why I haven't used them. But yeah, I agree with Ryan over there. He's like, I wanted to actually use a real animator. I would rather have actual humans working on my stuff. I have a real person editing my clips. Okay, so this was another video I wanted to watch. OpenAI is 100% normal, and okay, it's the OpenAI bubble is worse than you think. That's what the actual name is. So for those of you not aware, OpenAI is running at a tremendous loss. They're running at $104 billion loss. Okay? OpenAI, by the way, doesn't own their data centers. They don't. They rent them. They basically have no... Well, they have assets, I think, in terms of hardware, but they don't have assets in, you know, like in terms of building, things like that. I think it was that they're looking at spending trillions over the next 5 years in just, like, I think rental spaces? No, it was like hundreds of billions. I have to look at the breakdown of it. But basically, as I've said before, the whole AI bubble is unsustainable. I'm not saying AI is bad technology, specifically LLMs, I use an LLM locally. We've talked about this on stream where I have my own local one, and I'm doing some more research on using LLMs to do a whole bunch of stuff. This is my LLM that is local to me. See? That's local to me. Of course, I'm going to have a whole other IP and VLAN for it soon. I just got to, I just cleaned up the basement so I could put it downstairs near the network rack, and then I got to physically jack it into the switch. But this is my own thing. I can have it do lookups for any websites and do any kind of processing. And I've gone into this as well many times, and there'll be more content on that later. But basically, LLMs is a service. AI is a service. It's not a sustainable model. And yes, I do hope it pops within 2 to 3 years.
Sam's the boss of the biggest AI company in the jungle. Together, they've put out the software that's revolutionized everything from cheating on college essays to writing pointless pitch decks by consulting firms. And nowadays, AI is everywhere you go. Sam's seen the headlines, his face plastered across countless magazines. But behind that smile lies a deep unease. Sam's also seen the balance sheets, and they're painting a far less optimistic picture. Even his own company, the darling of Silicon Valley, is running at a massive loss. Multi-billion bananas burn just to keep the lights on every day.
Yep.
But Sam knows that he's got no choice. He has to double down. If the numbers already look so grim with widespread AI adoption and billions in investment worldwide, God only knows how bad things will be when the hype dies down. Because of the existential threat, Sam orders full steam ahead. He tells
what is the end goal of AI?
To push out new features.
There is no end goal of AI. I mean, some people are saying it's to, replace, humans as, workforce and stuff like that. That may be the goal, but the end goal of it is basically the same way as the crypto bros that came in to ruin cryptocurrency. What's the end goal? Oh, you're just going to get rich and make a bunch of money on meme coins that have had actually no intrinsic value, no utility, anything like that. Was intrinsic value the right word to say? But you get what I'm saying. AI, it's the same thing. Right now, it's all hype. There's a lot of companies trying to put LLMs in to replace humans and doing it with disastrous results. So many people are just trying to slap AI in to whatever. Microsoft is literally throwing Copilot into all of their stuff because they need to showcase some profits, or at least usage, from their investment with OpenAI. So I really think the revolutionary part of LLMs isn't, oh, we're going to have these services that we can have run all these things for us, but rather that we can localize that processing to do some really amazing things. In the same way that cryptocurrency, in and of itself, was not the amazing thing, it was blockchain behind it that was a very sound and amazing technology. But then you had people coming in with blockchain and trying to slap it onto everything. Everyone's like, oh yeah, we have NFT capabilities. Oh yeah, we have cryptocurrency. Oh yeah, we're running on the blockchain with this product. That's the same problem you're seeing with AI right now. It's the hype. Everyone's throwing their product into it to see that they can, follow this hype train, hoping that they make money off of it. But the honest truth is, I say at least 95% of all this AI-related crap, it's going to die out. And we're going to see, essentially, the same results as what we saw with the dot-com boom. There were tons of companies that made bank during the dot-com boom and then busted. But we got some winners out of the dot-com boom. You got Google. You got eBay. PayPal came out of that. Amazon came out of that. You had a lot of different companies that actually won. But things like pets.com, NetBeans, and a few others didn't survive the .com era. AI is lasting more than blockchain. Blockchain's still around. Believe me. I was at Web Summit last year. There are still people trying to hype up blockchain in so many different products that it doesn't make sense. There are. They're out there. There are still plenty of crypto bros buying into it. Trust me, I've had a lot of arguments with people out there that are like, why don't we get this to run on Web3? And I'm like, because Web3 is bullshit. You're not reinventing the wheel. You're just adding extra layers to it. Yeah, PayPal sucks. We all know that. But unfortunately, it's here. I hear Battle Block Theater music, PTSD kicked in. But yeah, so that's the end goal, basically, with AI. And there's not really much to it. Everyone's just riding the hype right now, hoping to get rich. Everyone is trying to get rich, basically, off this hype train. Not everyone will. And it's already having some victims like Crucial. Crucial, my favorite memory company I used for years. They were my go-to for all the RAM I used in my systems. Because Crucial was one of the few vendors you could guarantee compatibility in a system. Yeah, no longer going to be a thing after February. They're going to cater only to enterprise and AI customers. They're eventually going to have to come crawling back to consumers. They will eventually. It's not a matter of if, but when.
New products, anything to keep the excitement
to play, just so you know, the
ChatGPT browser here, a tweaked chatbot there. Each launch is touted
the ChatGPT browser. I hate that thing. We got to finally block all the AI browsers at work. I was so happy.
ChatGPT 4 and 5, for example. Despite the marketing spin, they're performing the same function, except that one's just a little more depressed than the other. But with every new launch, the market's getting crowded, and products are blurring together. And slowly, the monkeys are starting to notice. Sam knows the hype can't last forever. And when it fades, will AI have built anything real enough to justify the hundreds of billions invested?
No.
Or is this all just another bubble waiting to burst? This is the AI bubble explained. So, let's take a look at the state of the AI market. Hey, looking good, right? Actually, no, there's a lot of monkey business going on under the hood. And fortunately, these problems are starting to come to light. Copyright lawsuits, AI product failures, and mass AI layoffs are becoming more and more common, and the pressure is mounting on Sam. See, he knows he's going to have his work cut out for him, but Sam has a secret weapon. Mountains and mountains of data. Your data. Our data. Data that countless monkeys
OpenAI is going to start
our questions, our requests, and the
displaying ads, apparently.
GPT. Everything from asking it to plan out a holiday itinerary or accidentally leaking IT trade secrets.
Yep.
The truth is that Sam and OpenAI know a frightening amount of things that they likely shouldn't.
This is why I built my local LLM. Only my local LLM gets my super secret stuff.
But here's the thing. Nobody really knows. That's the literal billion banana question that monkeys have been trying to figure out ever since Sam debuted ChatGPT to the jungle. And now things have reached a boiling point. If you've ever been on the hellhole that's LinkedIn, you know exactly what I mean. LinkedIn gurus copy-pasting each other's posts word for word.
Oh God, yeah!
Studio Ghibli aesthetic. Even their comments sound like they're written by AI.
Yeah!
But this is just a small ecosystem that perfectly represents the bigger problems with AI. Because if everything is AI...
So here's a funny thing. You remember that day OpenAI went down, I think because of the Cloudflare outage we had? I remember, and I was talking to some of my buddies about this, we noticed there was a significant decrease in the number of LinkedIn posts and comments that day. There was, and I realized very few people are actually writing their posts. I at least write my posts, and then what I end up doing sometimes is I'll throw it through an LLM just to have like, hey, can you make this flow better? And then I go through and I edit it. I never really just take it at its word. And then I'm like, hey, this looks good. I got to make this tweak here, that tweak there. But you have a lot of people that on LinkedIn straight up You can see the artwork is generated by AI. They didn't check it. The post is made by AI. They didn't check it. Their comments sound like they've been written by AI, and they didn't check it. The number one giveaway, and this isn't the case for everyone, was M-. Was LinkedIn not down during that outage? Just curious. No, LinkedIn was not down. LinkedIn's on a different infrastructure than Cloudflare, from my understanding. I admire you a lot. You got me started with LLMs. Nice. By this point, I wonder if it's just better just to not use LLM for stuff like LI posts. The arrows in my prose just gives it a human touch. Well, that's what I actually do a lot of times, is I will purposely put errors in there so they know it's a human. That's what you have to do. The problem that we have is, like, a lot of people have noticed, the M dashes. You know, the, dash to separate a sentence. Most people, I'd say like 99% of people, don't know how to use it. Now, I've met people that have actually, you know, learned the English language properly and know how to use an M dash properly. I've used commas to separate sentences a lot longer. I've never used an M dash in my entire life. So what you're saying is the internet is now just a handful of LLMs talking to each other. That's basically what has been called the dead internet theory, where you just have AI talking to AI, talking to AI, talking to AI. Me fail English? Impossible. Or as I tell people, when my boss asks me to make a report on something, and I look at him and I'm like, look, I do cyber. If you want words, go find a good worder. The hell? It's raining freaking stuffed animals. Gotta get my penguins back there. Got my penguins there. We got my little panther beanie baby they gave me. Nope, that went there. Then we got the CrowdSec Cool Llama. I still gotta install their stuff on pfSense. They do make good stuff, by the way. CrowdSec. And if you're wondering, I also have a Mastodon Plushtodon over there with Detective Pikachu. It's raining men. English.
AI generated.
Okay, anyway.
Isn't AI just being trained on its own output? And more importantly, who actually owns it? Is it the user? Sam? OpenAI? The AI itself? No one knows, but a lot of monkeys care, a lot, about their original works. Because recently, a wave of lawsuits has hit the AI industry over copyright infringement. The most high profile is the New York Times versus OpenAI and Microsoft, where the Times alleges its articles were used without permission to train ChatGPT.
Ooh.
And it's not just the news space. Authors are suing OpenAI and Meta for using their books as training data. And music
Meta
publishers
literally
are suing Anthropic
downloaded
for
like
scraping lyrics to
terabytes
train
of
its Claude
torrents and
chatbot.
books and stuff from my
And
understanding.
here's where things get even messier. Most monkeys have no idea how much of their own work is being swept up into these AI models. If you're a creator, a student, or a professional, it's worth actually reading the terms of service for these popular AI tools. Spoiler alert, a lot of them reserve the right to use your uploads and prompts to improve their...
So, pausing for a second here. I do use LLMs to help me write my scripts on YouTube. But if you notice, I use them more as a guideline. There is definitely a lot of things where I'm like, I would never say it like that. We're going to say it like this. I mainly just say, hey, let's structure this more or less to like a bullet point list of things that we're going to go through. These are the points I want to cover. And then I fill in the gaps.
models, which means your work
Hardware
could
can
end
be
up as
3D
someone
printed
else's
or
training
CNC.
data without you ever knowing.
So I'm gonna make a Pi that runs LLMs locally the size of an iPad Classic.
PowerPoint pitch
Any
deck for your
pointers?
boss.
Okay, sorry, we're pausing again. So the problem is, you can run an LLM on a Raspberry Pi. You can. The problem is, it's not a very powerful device. You will maybe at most be able to run a few 100 million parameters on it. My NVIDIA 3050 is considered a very weak GPU for LLM processing. And I have it doing Gemma 3 4B, so 4 billion parameters. My 5060 Ti is doing 12B. Okay, it can do 1B, but how effectively does it do it is the question. If someone entirely uses AI to write books, wouldn't it not be copyright infringement to reproduce their work? Potentially, yes. Potentially. That is, unless you're actually having it rewritten, written into your voice. That's where things get interesting. Like, go back to where I said about, you know, I will use it to help me guide YouTube scripts. I write the script in my own voice. Sometimes I will use lines the way ChatGPT has it, because it's actually learned how I would phrase things. But I don't always, because it can veer off course. What's the most capable board out there? Capable in terms of what? If you're trying to do LLMs on a SBC, a single board computer, you'd probably be looking more at like the NVIDIA Jetsons. NVIDIA has some SBCs and mini computers. Those actually work a lot better. They have basically what's a GPU on there for processing. You can use Raspberry Pi. Don't get me wrong. You just won't like it. Like, you won't really like the speed that it's at. Like, I'm gonna use just my, you know, Gemma 3 4B. This is running locally on my machine. Use a Raspberry Pi for LLM. Look how fast it works with a 3050. I don't think you'll get this speed on a Raspberry Pi. It's going to feel agonizing comparatively. Yeah, inference is really inference is too slow to really do anything useful on a Raspberry Pi. Can you play with it? Yes. Is it going to be useful? Not really. Have you ran obliterated models? I have not. Yeah, that's Gemma 3 4B. That's 4 billion parameters. That's on my NVIDIA 3050. This right here is Gemma 3 12B, which is even larger of a model. The only one larger for Gemma 3 is the 27B model, which I don't have enough VRAM to operate on. We'll have this operate. What kind of performance can I realistic? Now, this is Gemma 3 12B. It's a little bit slower, but it's got a lot... It's a little bit more capable. And this one is running on my 5060 Ti. So this is on Franken LLM, which is running a 3050 dedicated to Gemma 3 4B and a 5060 Ti running to 12B. I'm going to eventually work into the source code that I have out there. This project is open source, by the way. You can go grab this off my GitHub. You can actually, DeepSeek is that fast. I'm so surprised. Oh, you can run DeepSeek on this. You can run any LLM you want. I'm just using Gemma 3 because that's what I set up here. Gemma 3, I found, is one of the more capable LLMs for a lot of things in general. But as you can see, it's telling you, you can use Tiny Llama. It's possible, but not like a high-end server. Small LLMs, the Raspberry Pi can run smaller LLMs, particularly those quantized, meaning their numerical representations have been compressed to reduce size. Those models are often designed for edge devices. Don't expect blazing fast speeds or the ability to handle complex prompts. A Raspberry Pi CPU and RAM are significantly weaker than what's typically used for LLMs. Now, bear in mind, what I'm doing for this LLM box is what's considered a low-end inference server. This is very low to mid. An RTX 5090 would still probably put you in maybe the mid-range. You want to get, what is it, the RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell? That's the Quadro card with 96 gigabytes of memory to be in the high end. Although at that point, you may as well just shell out 4K for an NVIDIA DGX Spark, which is their single board, their SoC and little mini computer solution for that. It won't be as fast as an RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell, but you could run large LLMs. I'd like to get one so I can do Code Llama 70B, but that's a lofty goal for another day. But yeah, the thing is, I want the speed on an iPod-sized handheld. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that. That's just the reality of this. The technology is not there yet to get an LLM capable in a form factor that small. Not anytime soon. Like this right here, let me grab an image so you can see, what my server looks like that I have, and then we'll get back to the video. Hold on, I had to go back a couple of days. God, I have a lot of people on my Discord, which y'all should join. Links in bio. Shameless plug. Hold on. Wait, I know I put it here somewhere. There it is. That right here, you could maybe fit that into a micro ATX, but that's the 5060 Ti. That's the 3050. That's what I'm using to be able to get the speed that I'm at right now. Oh yeah, you can also run the LLM remotely, which is what I'm planning to do with, what do you call it? Once I have my Zero Trust network access, I can access this from anywhere I have internet. But, yeah. And the great thing is, that's always warmed up, and the GPU is always cool. It only spikes up when I actually use it. Then I'll have my API set up so I can actually do it for other things. Well, LLMs are not on Cloudflare infrastructure. Don't want it going out during exam. Well, I know mine's not. As long as my internet's working, I can access my LLM. This is definitely turning into a way more advanced Jetson simulation.
Chances are that an AI is
We'll
out
have
there
more
feasting
content
your
on my
work for their
LLM
next
server.
update. And if monkeys care about protecting your intellectual property, and more importantly, your privacy, you need to be picky about which programs you use. The team has been using Proton Drive because it offers end-to-end encryption, meaning only you and monkeys that you deem trustworthy can access
Okay, I do
your
like
files.
Proton.
And it's not just your file content.
I'm affiliated with them
Proton Drive
too.
also encrypts metadata like file names, folder names, previews, so your files are well and truly your own. All this protection also comes in an easy-to-use package, functioning exactly like our favorite
Shameless
productivity
plug.
tools like Google Docs. And look, here's our team reviewing our next video right now, just without the risk of Google flagging it and reporting us to the feds. Plus, using Proton Drive means no data brokers, advertisers, or megacorp can use, sell, or train AI.
I also
using your
recommend
data.
Blink Disk.
So whether you're a small business
Which I'm
looking to
also
protect their
affiliated
IP, or just a monkey
have an
looking to
open
keep their
source
personal
solution.
files away from Sam and the next ChatGPT model, Proton Drive has your back. And hey, they're kind enough to
What
sponsor
channel is this?
video,
Monkey
so you know
Explains
for a fact they take privacy
1999.
seriously. If you want cloud storage that actually gives a damn about your right to privacy, go check them out at
Yeah,
proton.me/drive/monkey.
Monkey Explains 1999.
Explains for a massive 60% discount on the house. Thank you, Proton, for sponsoring this video. But while these lawsuits are ongoing, Sam is desperately trying to convince everyone that AI can stand on its own, and that these are just the growing pains of a new and highly disruptive product. However, the reality on the ground is very, very different. Despite billions in investment from hedge funds, accelerator programs, and megacorps, many AI startups are struggling to become profitable. Worse, even the AI initiatives at the world's biggest companies are failing to generate a real return on investment.
Yeah,
Sam
that's
knows
the
this better
issue.
than anyone.
You have to spend so
OpenAI,
much on
his own
hardware
company,
to be
is
able to
operating at a
get
massive
results.
loss. But he's got to double down. He's got no other choice. Because of this, Sam
So I know we're pausing a lot, but when they're talking about a loss, just to give you an idea, let's extrapolate here. That LLM that I have is not that capable. I mean, it's plenty capable, don't get me wrong, but in the grand scheme of things, it's nowhere near an NVIDIA H100, H200, these systems that they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on. Okay? Even to get the system that I had, I want to say it was about $1,500, give or take. CPU, memory, GPU. Now, of course, if you have multiple GPUs, that, evens out the cost. But then, you have to worry about power. You have to worry about all those things. But like I was saying, you want, really powerful inference. You would use that RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell. I'm so jelly, brother. I'm running Olam on a 16 gigabyte ThinkPad. Yeah, I got 16 gigabytes of VRAM on that 5060 Ti. And for my additional research and upgrade on my workstation, I've got 16 gigabytes of VRAM on my GPU that I'll be installing in a month. I gotta repaste the CPU on my 5950X, and then I'll be throwing this bad boy in. Along with the 850 watt power supply, which I can't pick up with one hand. I got the parts, as I was talking about earlier in the video, because everything's getting more expensive, so I just said, suck it up. I'm going to take the hit right now, buy everything I need, and then, yeah, maybe a 2.5K MacBook Pro. MacBook Pro, the issue is you still need a lot of memory to do a lot of these things. And getting 32 gigabytes, let alone 64 gigabytes in a Mac, is way too expensive. You may as well build yourself a laptop or a workstation with a good GPU.
orders more launches, more updates, more models.
What exactly would you consider AI, not LLMs?
No matter how similar
Something that passes the Turing test.
Just keep launching new models as fast as possible. Keep the hype flowing. Keep propagating the illusion that this is all built on something profitable long-term, despite what the numbers say. And so, every week, it's a new revolutionary feature. But here's the dirty secret. Most of these products flop. According to a recent
what version of Linux should I download?
In 20
Play around with a few versions of Linux, see which one suits your workflow.
A 95% failure rate.
Yep.
Hell, growing up in an Asian household, even a 95% success rate wasn't enough for Monkey's parents.
Good God damn! You doctor now? Come talk to me when you doctor. It reminds me of that Family Guy skit. Yeah, I would recommend just playing with, like, different distributions. Like, I use Pop! OS. There's also Zorin. There's Bazite. There's Garuda. There's Catchy OS. There's Fedora. There's Ubuntu. Play with a few out there. Debian rules. I like Debian, too. But I have Ubuntu on most of my servers because Debian stable is a little bit behind on things, and
you're telling me that 95% failure rate is what we're betting billions of bananas on?
GNOME is by far the easiest to start, in my opinion.
Take Devin,
but I'll be moving to Cosmic soon.
The AI software engineer that was supposed to automate coding and revolutionize the industry.
The only issue I don't like with Fedora is that release cycle is pretty rapid, like 6 months to get a new version.
And Devin quietly joined the growing graveyard of AI products that promised the world and delivered, well, not much. The worst part is that Sam's relentless push to hype up AI seems to have rubbed off on other founders as well, with some claiming that these failure signals are just business as usual. But the most egregious example of this is one of the CEOs of these AI startups likening the AI industry to riding a bike for the first time. Sorry, but Monkey never owned a billion-dollar bike that would collapse the economy if I fell off while practicing. Please excuse me, But if we're to believe these founders and CEOs, if AI truly is the next best thing since sliced bananas,
it's not.
Why do so
I mean,
many
it's
companies
great, don't
keep
get me
firing
wrong.
AI workers? First it was Meta, then it was Amazon, followed by another, and it doesn't seem to end. Every couple of weeks, a new headline breaks that yet again, AI workers are being let go as if they have the plague.
Okay, so let's pause for a second. And people are saying that these are the products that will replace people, 95% failure rate. So let me put it this way. The reason why there's a 95% failure rate, and I actually read the study, is because more or less from what I could extrapolate, it's square peg and round hole issues. Everyone's trying to squeeze in AI so that they can then turn around to their investors and say, hey, you know, we're on the edge of technology. We're innovating over here. We're using this new thing, AI, that, you know, all the cool kids are talking about. And then the investors just go, that sounds good. Money! Throw money! Throw money at you! Because at the end of the day, a business's prerogative, especially publicly traded companies, is to make line go up. So they're going to throw AI in wherever they can, even though often they know that won't really have much value because they can at least portray it to investors. I saw this issue firsthand when I was at Web Summit. There were products that were getting overlooked, and I overheard investors and other people come around, and like they were very solid products. They didn't have AI. They didn't have blockchain involved in them. They were just solid products on their own. Granted, some of these were actual cybersecurity products. And, you know, investors would be like, you know, well, this is all great and everything, but where does AI or blockchain fit into this? And even I was dumbfounded as a spectator to this. And I was like, it doesn't need to. Square peg, round hole. It's not working. And no, don't reference the TikTok video where it's like, you know, like it fits in. This is the problem. Investors are trying to invest money to get an ROI on their stuff. And the issue is investors are really, in many cases, really stupid on technology. I've seen it firsthand. You can, you know, baffle them with bullshit. You can. You throw a bunch of technical words, string them together in a way that sounds, you know, intelligent, and people will fall for it. Like when I told you about in college, where a couple of my buddies and I managed to get a few dozen people to sign a petition to ban dihydrogen monoxide. Do you know what dihydrogen monoxide is? Dihydrogen, two hydrogen atoms, right? Monoxide, singular oxygen atom, H2O. I got people to ban water. I got people to agree to a ban on water. That is my proof right there that people are not as smart as they really portray to be a lot of times when they are investors and stuff. There's a lot of people there was a lot of people doing this, to be fair, but I managed to get a few dozen people to do this. I had a buddy that ran a page or something called Moms Against Dihydrogen Monoxide. I mean, there's a lot of drowning deaths every year. So I used to actually cite that. Thousands of people die every year from dihydrogen monoxide. It's all around us everywhere. Like there's ways you can, you know, string things together, make it sound really intelligent, and get people to believe it. And that's what happens with a lot of this AI stuff. Because a lot of the people, look, this is why I tell people all the time, just because someone is rich does not make them smart. I have this argument all the time about Elon Musk. And they're like, well, you know, he's a pretty smart guy. And I'm like, dude, a lot of his ideas are the same things that I actually came up with multiple bong rips in when I was in college, but I wasn't as rich as him, so I was just called a stoner. Ooh. You know, like, Elon Musk has all these great ideas. No, he has money to pay people with the great ideas. He just has these ideas that, I could have had too if I were still smoking weed. Like, look, when you're poor and you have a mental illness, you are crazy. When you are rich and have a mental illness, you are eccentric. Okay? Why would you ever stop smoking? Because a lot of jobs don't want you to, do that, okay? And you know what? The thing I like that is green happens to be money. I got bills, son. Thank God the veil has totally fallen for smoke. It still hasn't completely fallen. It's still there. It is still there for a lot of people. Don't kid yourself. Like, I have a lot of people that, that's right, LLMs go into the square hole special case. LLMs go right into the K-hole. Do you think Musk is a necessary evil? No. No. I don't think he's necessary whatsoever. Now, I'm not saying that in a way to be threatening or whatsoever. I'm just saying in the grand scheme of things, he's not as relevant in the grand scheme of things for the way the world works as I would say Bill Gates. And this is coming from a Linux guy that doesn't really care for, the Microsoft anti-Linux stance and all that, okay? Just put that out there. You like Starlink, that's about it. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Starlink is, for what it is, it's okay. My employer fired a quadriplegic for using medical stuff off of work hours. Oh, that's a bull. That and X, I guess. No. Elon had nothing to do with X. Elon in-shitified Twitter. Well, Twitter was already getting in-shitified to begin with, but Elon just made it worse. The bot problem is allegedly even, well, not allegedly, it is even worse than it was when, before he owned it. You don't use it. I don't use it either. I'm on Mastodon and Blue Sky. What even is X now? It's where a bunch of people go around a circle jerk about different... Well, that's not really any different than it was before. Carrying on.
The numbers are horrifying. In 2025 alone, over 112,000 tech workers have lost their jobs across 218
it's
companies.
Grok training grounds.
With at least 80,000 jobs directly impacted due to AI-led restructuring at giants like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. It's happening everywhere. Intel, TCS, Salesforce. And if the big companies are feeling the pinch, Monkey can only imagine the layoffs that aren't high-profile enough to make it to the news cycle. Sam's getting paranoid. All of this signals that things are bad in the AI industry, and yet investors seem to keep throwing bananas at anything that uses AI. Sam's faced with an impossible dilemma. Come out and call for the world to reel back the hype, potentially popping the bubble early, or keep the hype train chugging along till it hits a brick wall. It's a lose-lose situation. And yet, despite all the warning signs,
my boss uses AI to critique the scripts I use AI to write. What the hell?
There's still a chorus of voices insisting that the AI revolution is only just beginning. See those CEOs? Those founders we were talking about earlier? If you believe their LinkedIn posts, their press releases, or their keynotes at conferences...
You see those CEOs? You see those CEOs right there? Do you realize that C-suite jobs and managerial jobs at its peak are the things that most likely can and should be replaced by them with AI? Like, there's a guy that made an entire C-suite using LLMs, the CFO, his, all these different, seats he had and all that. You could more easily use an LLM to replace those at the top and more effectively than you can those at the bottom. But of course, it's always we at the bottom that get screwed.
You'll hear the same message over and over again. They all word it slightly differently, but the message is clear. They believe AI is the real deal, and that all this haphazard investment is just par for the course. First, they'll tell you, every revolution looks like chaos at first. Remember the dot-com boom? The early days of the internet were a mess. But out of that chaos came Amazon, Google, and the entire digital economy as we know it today. Or they'll point to the sheer scale of investment. Look at the bananas pouring in, they say. Would all these VCs, wealth funds, and Fortune 500s really be this wrong?
Yes!
While conveniently forgetting.
Did we all forget the recession of 2009? How wrong the finance industry was then?
The numerous financial disasters facilitated by these same mega.
The bottom gets screwed. Look, bottoms always get screwed in more ways than one.
Don't get Monkey wrong here. I'm not saying we should stop developing AI altogether. No. Monkey just thinks the kitchen is getting a little too hot for its own good. So what's really going on? If you want to see just how shady things have gotten, look no further than the circular financing at the heart of the AI boom. The numbers are astronomical. Billions of bananas are being pumped between the same handful of companies, inflating each other's numbers and making the whole market look way more robust than it really is. Here's how it goes. NVIDIA invests billions of bananas into OpenAI. Sam then takes these bananas and buys
Isn't that an ape
NVIDIA's
and not a
GPUs.
monkey? Shh.
And like a rotten onion, there's layers to this too. NVIDIA also owns part of CoreWeave, a cloud service provider that buys a lot of NVIDIA's GPUs. And can you guess who are CoreWeave's biggest customers? None other than Sam, OpenAI, and other AI startups. Oh, and don't forget that NVIDIA also buys cloud capacity from CoreWeave. See the pattern here? Monkey is tired of this bullshit, but it doesn't stop there. We're not even halfway through Dystopia Town yet. Oracle, AMD, and even xAI are all tangled up in similar deals.
I could save money now and everyone can eat. Getting money in the daytime, even count it when I sleep. Wake up to getting bread, bitch, I do this for the streets. ADHD.
Thank you for that sub there.
Nation just subscribed.
Thank you, Scrunchy Nation, for that sub there. Happy hacking, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate you.
For me to face the game, so I opened up my toolbox.
Scrunchy_Nation is now chilling in the lab.
How y'all liking the TTS updates I did? I found that setting in there. Is Sam Microsoft? No, Sam Altman is OpenAI, which Microsoft happens to be their biggest funder. Where's that ball, guy? Where's that ball, guy? Oh. Ooh. Oh. You got spoiled tonight. You got rice with bone broth on top of your dog food. Good dog. It's a good dog.
Up demand that looks a lot like the revenue round-tripping that fueled the 2008 financial crash and the dot-com bubble before it.
Didn't know it'd
The
be a big
parallels are hard
ordeal.
to ignore. Back in 2008,
I like
banks were
to
trading
let the
same
community
toxic
know I
assets back and
appreciate
forth,
you.
inflating their books until the whole system collapsed. Now it's AI companies and their suppliers, all betting on each other's success, with very little actual customer demand to back it up. So when Monkey hears about record-breaking investments and explosive growth in AI, Monkey can't help but wonder if this is just a trillion banana Ponzi scheme just waiting to collapse. Thankfully, many jungle governments have begun to see through the industry's smoke and mirrors and are calling for increased regulations.
Yes, regulate
Experts are
it!
calling for reduced investment and a slowdown in model
Unfortunately, Trump's
warning
big,
that the
beautiful
AI
bill
arms race is moving faster than our
prevents
ability to control it.
states from having regulations for
From the
10
EU
years.
Sweeping AI Act to rumblings of federal regulation of AI in the U.S. jungle, the message is clear. Maybe it's time to put the brakes on before the whole jungle goes up in flames. Even some of the loudest voices in tech are now urging caution, at least when the cameras are
Big,
rolling.
beautiful bill, more like a
At
big
the very
monstrosity
least,
of a bill.
It seems that the Kool-Aid
How do
is
you feel
wearing
about
off.
Netflix
But on
buying
the other
Warner
side,
Brothers?
Big tech is feeling
It
the
sucks.
pressure. Sam's feeling
But given how many options out there, it's better than
these damn reporters would stop
some
asking
other people
questions
buying
about
it.
OpenAI's revenue numbers. But that's the thing about bubbles. The closer you get to the truth, the more uncomfortable it gets for the monkeys at the top. When the story was all about limitless growth, Sam was happy to talk. Now, with the spotlight on the actual numbers, the answers are getting shorter, the smiles more forced. And before we know it, Sam's off to the races once more to showboat for more hype for AI. The question is, how long more before the masquerade finally ends? And if consumer demand can't sustain AI at the peak of its hype, how can they hope to survive when the hype dies out? So the next time you see Sam, or any of these other CEOs and startups peddling
how
AI
much is
as a
China
product that can do no wrong,
a threat
you
to
know
China
what's
to
going on
America in a
behind the
holistic
scenes.
sense?
If any monkeys are confused, just remember that this is a simple satirical explainer about the AI
I think America
industry.
chases a lot of
Please do
boogeymen.
not sue Monkey.
with things.
And many thanks to the Banana Republic for generously bankrolling and funding these videos. Have a good one, and we'll see you in the next one.
So, I think a lot of the issues, going your question, a threat of China to America in a holistic sense. If we're going to exclude, the whole classical, this nation, espionage against this nation that's been happening for longer than the internet has existed, longer than you and I have been around and all of that. In the holistic sense, China's really not that much of a threat. It's more of a threat to America's status that they currently retain. The reason being, the Earth has been more in the, a peaceful state, relatively speaking. I'm not by any means saying the world is peaceful. There's a lot of problems out there. But relatively speaking, the planet has been a lot more peaceful than it has been in the past. A lot of that value for America is because of the military and the soft power that we've actually put out into the world. Now, Trump has ruined a lot of that soft power as well. Was it the what was the international organization? USAID. USAID gave us a lot of soft power and things like that. The world order is still determined by America. It is, but China has become more of a threat technologically speaking because we've walled off America from having the ability to peer into what's going on China, and we've done that damage to ourselves. Whereas competition breeds innovation. China was competing with the USA, but the USA was never really competing with China. So the problem there was we got lazy on innovation in the US. We really did. But we also gave China the tools for manufacturing and stuff. And the interesting thing is that goes back to Apple and how they gave it and all that. Y'all should visit China. It's a bit of a worldview shift. It's been one of my things to go check out one day. I do want to go to Shenzhen. They have that giant tower of electronics. I'd like to spend a week or two there with a big wad of cash, build a phone, build a computer, go through, get tech of all various kinds. That in Japan with Akihabara, which, Akihabara, or however they say it, because they apparently are known for the unique Japanese-specific electronics that aren't anywhere else in the world. But I have a lot of friends and colleagues that are from China or in China that, yeah, it's kind of interesting the things going on there. I think America needs a boogeyman. They just haven't learned how to live at peace, and that's why we always need to find an enemy and make an enemy and continue the cycle so that we can continue the military-industrial complex. That's my perspective. Take it or leave it. Okay, continuing on. Next video. Is this the greatest Linux era that's ever lived? This was something that put up by my mods.
Linux is scary, or at least it used to be scary. Back in my day, Linux was used exclusively by masochists who enjoyed having their souls sucked into this black hole known as a terminal. But in 2025, we now have distributions of Linux that are so user-friendly, even my tiny raccoon-like brain can use it without having to ever touch the box that shall not be named. Which is exactly why I installed Fedora Linux on all the PCs in my shop. Because besides being disgusted by Microsoft's decision to cause the biggest e-waste event in history, I wanted to put my money where my mouth is and repurpose this old hardware into usable machines. Even if it means spending dozens of hours reviving tech that should have been burned at the stake just to sell them on my website for next to no profit. Because being the greatest technician that's ever lived means going out of my comfort zone for the sake of the greater good, and Linux is arguably the greatest good. So wish me luck and keep an eye out on my store if you're looking to break free from the greedy grip of Microsoft. Linux is scary, or at least
I still find it so interesting. I remember just when I was starting on TikTok and everything, and I was coming out saying, yeah, I use Linux, and I do that for everything, my gaming and everything. People would, make fun of me and do all that, and, like, oh, Linux will never be a thing. Like, just 5 years ago. God, I've been on TikTok for 5 years. I've been on TikTok for 5 years, and it's amazing to see the shift from when I started becoming a content creator, saying, yeah, I use Linux, I do technology and all this, and I really think that, Linux could take over, to now we're actually at the point now where people are unironically looking at leaving Windows for Linux. And they're gaming on Linux. And they're buying devices, the Steam Deck example, that have Linux. And they're becoming comfortable with it. But yeah. As much as I respect Stallman's conviction, Valve's approach towards FOSS is more approachable. Well, yeah. Even Linus Torvalds was a little bit more pragmatic with his approach. Now, do I agree with Stallman on a lot of his stances, that Microsoft is malware and things like that? Yeah. Do I completely agree with him? No. Makes me think about that one green text about some kid trying to use Linux at school. Oh, which one was that? Tried putting Nix on an all-in-one HP, and the tears filled up the room. Wait, what? Okay, we got another article here. I shared this myself. So, Elon Musk's X fined $140 million by European Commission over deceptive blue checkmark and lack of transparency. Now, I was keeping an eye on the fallout for the story since I put it up on the 5th in the review on stream list. So, the fine actually makes sense. The blue checkmark is rather deceptive. It is, and we've seen people be able to impersonate other people because the blue checkmark does not actually verify who is the original person. The irony is, the whole idea of the blue checkmark originally came... I'm condensing this and probably leaving some pieces out, but the whole idea of the blue checkmark originally came because Twitter had an issue with imposters. So they created the blue checkmark system so that people could actually verify prominent people to know that they legitimately are that person or organization. Elon Musk had this view that it's like some elitist blue checkmark thing and all that, and, then said everyone should have access to blue checkmarks. He created chaos where people were actually able to impersonate as companies or individuals and create problems. Like, I think there was one, pharmaceutical company that lost, millions or billions of dollars in stock value in a day because of a post that people actually thought was them. Now, Elon is spinning this as, oh, the EU is trying, regulate us, and, it's a free speech issue. And I'm like, no, it's not a free speech issue. It's an issue of we can't verify who is who they say they are. and it is a problem, as well as the access issues. I think they mentioned as well. This was what it was. The commission on Friday said breaches include the deceptive design of its blue checkmark and the lack of transparency of its advertising repository and the failure to provide access to public data for researchers. So this goes back to the issue I talked about in a YouTube video recently, where I was talking about my bots and, how I made automations for all of these different things that I do. And I called out, I specifically don't have any integrations with Twitter/X. And the reasoning for that was simple. The API it is impossible to actually work with. Not in terms of technically capable. It is economically incapable. All that money on blue checkmark going to the fine. Yeah. That is funny. But if we go to the XAPI cost. Okay, here we are. Hold on, let me find the official site. Okay, here we are. This is the price of the XAPI. Okay? Free plan. Cool. Price free. Access to the API. Limit. 1 project. App limits. 1 app per project. So effectively you can have 1 app. Post caps. 100 posts per month. You also don't get access to the full archive search. Now, to get basic, and I think you get like 500 reads with that, okay? For basic, it's $200 a month. $200, okay? And this is what they bill as being for hobbyists. You get 2 apps per project. Cool, you can do 2 apps for $200 a month. And you get a 15,000 post cap. That's the reasonable part. Like, if you were going to do a free plan, the 2 apps and 15,000 would be the minimum. But then you get the pro. Oh, cool, you can have 3 apps. 1 million posts for $5,000 a month. And you wonder why all of these tools that are integrating into X are now charging you to be able to use the X integration. It's because of this. Dave Plummer is such a Microsoft shill, genuine brain dead takes. Who's Dave Plummer? I'm not familiar with that name. Yeah, but this is highway robbery. That's the problem with Twitter. And that's also the issue with where they're talking about there is no access for public researchers. What is the most safe thing in the world no one can hack? Yo mama. I'm kidding. Probably would be that, isn't there a mountain that they store all the data in for the military or something like that? I forget where it's at. Oh, the person who made the task manager. Oh, that guy. Okay. Iron Mountain. Okay, that's it. Yeah, in Colorado. That's the place. Okay. But anyway, deceiving users with blue check marks, obscuring information on ads, and shutting out researchers have no place online in the EU. So, the thing is, what the EU is doing with X, I actually agree with this. I'm not saying that as like, oh yeah, Elon Musk bad, be vindictive, he deserves it. No. I'm saying that this is what the USA should be doing as well. The standards the EU is trying to impose here, I think, should be the baseline. across the industry. Why isn't there a Linux task manager? There is. There's multiple. We have options. You've got HTOP, BTOP, you've got regular task managers, event viewers. There's tons of ways you can cite this, Brad. But yeah. Okay, we're going to take a quick break for a second. I have to hit the head before we get to the next video. And then we'll be getting on to the Gamers Nexus video here when I get back. But I definitely have drank a lot of water. So we're going to watch this video next. I will be back in a second. So give me a minute and a half. And we will resume. All right, I'm back. Oh, you said tax manager? We have GNU Cache. Well, not really cache manager. Tax manager. I bet it can be like a QuickBooks Intuit kind of thing. Since you touched on Musk, it's amusing that instead of saying my bad, he attacks the basic logic. Well, that's the problem with very insecure people, is they can't even accept when they are wrong. Look, I am open to being wrong. Because I think that, you know, if you make a mistake, that is an opportunity for you to also learn. And there's nothing wrong with making mistakes, so long as you learn from those mistakes and you don't repeat that said bad behavior or, you know, whatever goes on there. But there's a certain type of person that just can't accept any level of criticism and sees it as an attack. Anyway, let's continue on.
Micron is taking money from the American people under bipartisan support, and it is then fucking those people over by killing its consumer-facing line of memory, with its mega corporate buyers getting priority over the forlorn consumers who themselves footed the bill to pay for their own economic destruction. What they can also do is continue processing your daily computing needs in those data centers while making the hardware impossible for you to buy because you can't fucking afford it because they bought it all. That's where I think this is going. The corruption of the silicon companies is in the open. Micron is
I don't like Micron and what they're doing.
This is bigger than that. The cartel of silicon manufacturers have continued to rake in record tax breaks, government subsidies, and taxpayer money from a populace battered by the unaffordability of basically anything and by rising prices. And all of this is to pass on that money to the manufacturer's own mega corporate customer manufacturers, all praying to their god of money, AI. So while normal people are feeling the walls closing in around them as software as a service looms from data centers hoovering up all the affordable hardware, signaling the end of an era for affordable home computing, all of the eggs are in the AI basket for Micron, which just killed its direct-to-consumer RAM to focus on the bubble of AI. Quote, the AI-driven growth in the data center has led to a surge in demand for memory and storage. Micron has made the difficult decision to exit the crucial consumer business in order to improve supply and support for
They're going to come crawling back in 2 to 3 years when this shit pops.
Customers in faster-growing segments.
And they're going to have to do some groveling.
The end result is higher prices on already high prices, less competition in the consumer market, and, critically, less pricing suppression coming from a first-party manufacturer of the memory itself, one of 3 that are relevant in the world, and they've just killed their store brand, basically like a supermarket house brand of memory, which was called Crucial. At times, this former consumer-focused brand of Crucial meant that there was more competitive pricing than some of the
were my go-to memory.
Who buy Micron memory and glue it to their own self-branded heat sinks and sticks alongside the likes of SK Hynix and of Samsung. Those 3 collectively form basically the entire market for this supply. This seemingly panicked decision comes just 8 months into the craziest of the AI demand. We question whether Micron is actually killing this for the stated reason of excessive AI demand, requiring more chip supply, as opposed to retconning a reason, and AI washing its closure of the business unit Crucial, and inevitably getting rid of a lot of the staff who probably worked there.
They're basically doing it so that they can justify charging a higher price for the same product to sell to these customers because they're able to pay for it. So, like I said, they're going to do anything to make line go up, but they're going to be shooting themselves in the foot in the long term because AI is not going to be something that's going to be booming forever. It's going to eventually pop. It's going to eventually collapse. You can only run on hype for so long, as we talked about. There's already systemic problems with the financing in AI with circular money patterns there.
But then, if you look at Micron as a whole, they're actually doing pretty well. So maybe they're not AI washing a bad quarter. Micron is actually doing amazingly as it capitalizes on the destruction of the consumer market and works with data centers to suck in all of the hardware to continue to move computers and the ownership of them into the cloud for software as a service models. Micron's stock started the year at $87.33 and peaked at $253.30, a climb of 190% to that point. About 2 weeks ago, Micron's stock suddenly plunged to $201, but that was still up significantly on the year. As we write this, the end of trading after its announcement had it at $234. Again, that's from 87 on January 1st. For even more perspective, switching to the maximum scale shows us that pre-COVID Micron stock was around $40 to $50. As for why we're talking about the stock price, it's because it's the only fucking language these people understand. The executives don't know anything else. To them, this is a job well done, even though we're barreling towards the end of easy ownership of computers at home. High-end computing in the home has been democratized by prices. And
the irony is a lot of these companies that are going for AI are going to end up having to pay more for the machines that they have, not just in terms of AI, but the machines they're going to have to use for the employees to actually operate those AI machines. So you're going to eventually see this kind of cannibalizing on the technicians because these technicians have personal devices. A lot of these companies are doing BYOD. Well, if you can't afford to bring your own device, how's that going to work?
that is starting to go away in a very serious fashion. These greedy companies with NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang at the helm, while he shoves his hand up the US government's ass for his next award-winning puppet show are doing their best
That's a nice visual there.
silicon and pull it out of the hands of the consumers to shove it into their data centers. And just if you don't know, Micron is a supplier of VRAM that goes into GPUs as well. We think the end game here is that they'll charge you to use this stuff in the cloud. If you want 128 gigabytes of RAM on a computer to run a calculation, but you can't afford the 250% higher price, then good news, you'll be able to rent it remotely for just some money every month. Forever. We're actually working on a deep dive into the DRAM cartel right now because our AI Dystopia Kickstarter style campaign on our store hit our stretch goal, which means the DRAM cartel coverage will join our series of upcoming reports on the reckless expansion of data centers and AI companies. You can join to support our campaign and coverage series at store.gamersnexus.net, where our various backer tiers include things like our censored speech vaporwave smiley t-shirt, our new
upkeep
retro
will be
IO
expensive,
themed
and it's going to
cost and some of the tiers
a knock-on effect of more expensive stuff in general for everybody.
Will even get a USB copy of some of our upcoming videos on a physical 128 gigabyte USB drive, just in case we get Bloomberged again. Although if we do, we also have our video unavailable t-shirt. Other backer rewards include bonus videos, a small group Q&A session with me in the highest tier, and a signed mouse mat for that one. We're still putting together our deep dive into the memory industry, so check back for that. For now, head over to store.gamersnexus.net to support our upcoming series that we're launching in multiple videos over the next 3 months. We're going to have some pretty heavy commentary towards the end here today, but we'll start with the basics and the statement. So Micron is one of just 3 relevant global suppliers for memory. It's Samsung and SK Hynix in South Korea and Micron in the United States. These companies sell their DRAM and their flash components to other companies that you might be familiar with, like Corsair, G.Skill, Kingston, Team Group, and so forth. Memory suppliers have previously been convicted of price fixing and of fraud.
I didn't know that part.
Has been attempted again in the time since, but it goes back as far as decades ago now. These days, they've fixed that problem by not colluding to fix prices, by instead doing it publicly. So it's not like a private behind closed doors price fixing agreement and a handshake between CEOs now. Now they just talk about it in their earnings reports. So other than these 3 suppliers, the entire rest of the memory industry is made up by less than 6% of other companies as of a couple years ago, and probably even a lower percent for that other category now. But before we really tear into this, let's read the full statement from Micron. Quote, Micron Technology, a leader in innovative memory and storage solutions, today announced its decision to exit the crucial consumer business, including the sale of crucial consumer-branded products at key retailers, e-tailers, and distributors worldwide, end quote. Just to jump in for a second here, but corpo PR spin starting with, we're leaders in innovation, and ending with, so we're giving up. That's an
oxymoron there.
Jensen Huang say?
Clever, I guess.
That's it. Now, as we read this next paragraph from Micron, it's important to remember that Micron is an NVIDIA supplier. Quote, the AI-driven growth in the data center has led to a surge in demand for memory and storage. Micron has made the difficult decision to exit the crucial consumer business in order to improve supply and support for our larger strategic customers in faster-growing segments. And
translation, you are too broke for us. You can't pay us enough. This is like Pokimane and the, with the cookie, the $28 cookies that she was selling that apparently weren't that great. Well, if you're just a broke boy, that's basically what they're saying in corpo speak. Okay? We're not that important. We can't pay the rates that they want.
Quote, and this was a subquote by Sumit Sadana, EVP and Chief Business Officer at Micron Technology, who again says that the plan is to focus on faster growing segments. So first of all, fuck you. And secondly, at least Micron is clear with their intentions, which is that Micron doesn't care about consumers anymore. They only want to sell to the big companies in the high-growth AI space. Now, you might be quick to point out that Micron didn't say anywhere in this press release that it stopped selling consumer memory completely. They said they're killing crucial, which is their house brand of memory, the sticks. And the plain English interpretation of their statement is that the consumer segment is not fast growing enough, and quote, strategic customers in faster growing segments, end quote, is the focus. To us, that doesn't just mean crucial, it indicates anyone in AI and data center getting priority over even their other customers. To us, this signals a drawdown in supply for consumer in general from Micron. And remember, a lot of the price fixing problems and illegality are solved by not doing it privately and behind closed doors, but instead announcing it to your competitors. And just to be clear, I'm making this point purely for purposes of illustrating a literary point on historical context, and I'm not actually suggesting that they are actively price fixing or committing fraud. I am not suggesting that any of the memory manufacturers are actively committing fraud. That is not what I am suggesting. I'm just making a point about the past, where there were convictions of fraud, but I'm not suggesting it's happening now, okay? All right, let's move on. Here's the rest of the...
Nice CYA there, Steve. Nice CYA. I know why you did that, just to appease the lawyers. I get it. But you ain't wrong.
Spin. Quote, thanks to a passionate community of consumers, the Crucial brand has become synonymous with technical leadership, quality, and reliability of leading-edge memory and storage products. We would like to thank our millions of customers, hundreds of partners, and all of the Micron team members who have supported the Crucial journey over the last 29 years. This decision reflects
you're
Micron's
thanking us
commitment
by
to its...
effing us.
Okay. This decision reflects Micron's commitment to its ongoing portfolio transformation and the resulting alignment of its business to secular, profitable growth vectors in memory and storage. By concentrating on core enterprise and commercial segments, Micron aims to improve long-term business performance and create value for strategic customers as well as stakeholders, end quote. So once again, as if to dismiss the 3 spin doctors that we've seen on Reddit, Micron clearly states that it is concentrating on enterprise and business. The rest of the statement reads, quote, Micron intends to reduce impact on team members. Just to be clear, not eliminate, they say reduce impact on team members due to this business decision through redeployment opportunities into existing open positions within the company, end quote. Now, we already covered a lot of what's happening in the DRAM industry and in system memory with our RAM What the Fuck video. So again, if you've been wondering what's been going on with RAM, specifically the fuck, then we'll link that video below. The quick recap is that in some instances, within a span of just about 14 days, we saw kits of memory skyrocket in price by double-digit percentages. In a span of about 30 to 60 days, several kits of consumer memory launched upwards in price by 150 to 200%. That has continued to go up in the couple weeks since our report. Checking Crucial's 32 gigabytes or 2x16 gigabyte kit of DDR5 6000 CL36 memory, we found this price trend chart from PC Part Picker. About 120 days ago, this kit was $85 at Best Buy and B&H Photo. By October 20th, that had climbed to $122 and retailer Adorama lost supply. By November
have a good
3rd,
night, Vampire.
it increased to $182, so 114% from our reference point. As of today, it's $274.
Jesus.
This was $85 just 120 days ago. That's a 222% increase in price in 120 days, or in other words, an average of 1.85% per day increase. This 128 gigabyte kit was $300 and is now $960.
Hold on. Am I at a low resolution for some reason? Yes, I am. What the hell? There we go. It's like, why is this fuzzy?
Best Buy and B&H, an increase of 220%. Or if you prefer, a 3.2x increase. This is something a home workstation user might have relied upon for things like CAD engineering, Blender, video production, 3D modeling, game development, whatever. Now it's moving away from
I use at least 64 gigs for my workloads.
The realm of only corporate buyers. And it's not alone. This kit of 128 gigabyte DDR5 5600 was $420 and is now the result of smoking it at $1,000 on Newegg. And on the affordable consumer side, this kit of 32 gigabytes DDR5 5600 CL46, basically some of the worst memory you could buy, was $83 and is now $261.
Jesus.
For an increase of 214%. This Crucial Pro OC DDR5 6000 CL36 kit was $90 and is now $300, up 230%. This kit was $43 and is now $118, thoroughly screwing the consumer of lower-end budget parts. And that's without getting into laptop SODIMM memory, where Crucial is a prevalent and had been an important force.
Yep. I pretty much went there for all of my laptop memory.
It's been happening for a while now, yes, but not like this. Now it's in the open. The corruption of the silicon companies is in the open. In our opinions, not only is our technocracy wrought with what we think is open corruption and conspiracy against consumers to consolidate and move this computing power into data centers and so-called AI, but also open with the United States government. Now, this story started about Micron, but it's sort of about everybody in the industry. NVIDIA reportedly gave $10 million
effed as long as the Trump administration's around.
About its export-controlled GPUs. That's without getting into its nearly $4 million in lobbying, such as for AI lawmaking, which again, AI is where Micron is focusing. Intel CEO got cucked by the president when he was publicly mocked and ridiculed, and just days later sold 10% of the company to the United States government as if through some kind of public humiliation fetish. AMD CEO Lisa Su has joined other tech billionaires like Gates, Zuckerberg, and OpenAI Sam Altman in frequently joining US government meetings to make decisions that we think fuck over the little guy next. Micron is just the next step in all of this. They write their press release in just the right way, where a few corporate bootlickers can defend them on Reddit by saying technically they're only exiting the crucial memory business and not consumer as a whole. But their motives are clear.
Yeah.
And they're not really hiding them. We bring up the government because Micron has facilities in the United States, and they are frequently name-dropped on White House press releases. In June of 2025, the White House boasted of Micron's $200 billion of planned investment into fabs and R&D, such as in Idaho, where Micron says it's investing billions in domestic R&D. Micron said it's working on a mega fab in New York, further stating it intends to produce 40% of its DRAM in the United States. Micron Chairman, President, and CEO Sanjay Mehrotra stated, quote, "We are grateful for the support from President Trump, Secretary Lutnick, and our federal, state, and local partners.
I forgot about a lot of this.
Advocating domestic semiconductor manufacturing," end quote. And in the year of 2025, the PDA displayed between Micron and the US government would probably require an ID to view in 25 states. In fact, that Micron press release included quotes from CEOs Satya Nadella of Microsoft and Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, with the only difference being who's shoved their head up the ass of the government versus who has their hand up it. All of this might be because Micron took $275 million in additional funding from the United States government, part of the CHIPS Act disbursements that were promised under Biden and have continued to go out under Trump. In its latest 10-K form, Micron said it had received up to $6.4 billion in CHIPS Act grants across 2 administrations. Micron even gets local and state tax breaks, reportedly worth up to $2 billion on construction materials and property in New York alone, while normal people struggle to pay property taxes on their homes. Micron spends millions of dollars on lobbying, including more than $4 million in 2022 during the Biden administration
in many
and
states.
$3 million in 2025 during the second Trump administration. This year, Micron lobbied for higher manufacturing tax credits, which passed as a part of a federal spending bill and increased an investment tax credit on advanced semiconductor manufacturing from 25%.
I knew it was aft. I didn't know they were this aft.
CEO was gleeful, given the huge jump. Micron actually has paid tribute to the government a lot recently in exchange for tax breaks. Micron donated $1 million to the Presidential Inauguration Committee in January and gave an undisclosed sum of money for the new $300 million White House ballroom. Now, on the day when Micron killed Crucial, Micron's CEO met with the Secretary of Commerce to talk about, presumably, the American AI tech stack. Micron's exchange of government favors has spanned both the Biden and the Trump administrations. The point is, it doesn't matter which of these presidents
pretty
you
much
hate the
open
least
corruption.
or which one you think is the sleepiest. At the end of the day,
At least from what I
Micron
see.
is taking money from the American people under bipartisan support, and it is then fucking those people over by killing its consumer-facing line of memory, while also, we think, failing to pay its fair share. These subsidies from the government to build fabs and do R&D
well, we have
come
midterms
from
at
taxpayer
least.
money. Look, if only out of the proportionality of the impact, and not because these mega corporations rarely pay their fair share anyway, this
Midterms
money
are next year.
is being taken from the taxed people of the United States, passed through the US government, and into one of a triopoly of mega corporations that controls an industry. It then is passing on that consolidated power into the hands of the even fewer. With its mega corporate...
Not only that, this effectively removes an American option for manufacturing chips. Ironically, what Trump's been all about, let's bring back manufacturing jobs. So we're going to have to rely as consumers, if I'm understanding this correctly, more on foreign chips, Samsung and SK Hynix, so Korean companies, because the American company doesn't want to give to the consumer market in America. Am I missing something here?
Buyers getting priority over the forlorn consumers who themselves footed the bill to pay for their own economic destruction. Micron is just a microcosm here for what's happening right now, which is a reverse Robin Hood. These companies are taking from the many and they're giving to the even fewer to then take from the many again and circulate that money in a giant fucking circle like we talked about on the GNCA channel. All of this is without even getting into SSD prices. For those who don't know, the fabs responsible for manufacturing the silicon found in memory sticks often are the fabs that manufacture flash for use in solid-state storage devices, which are in anything that can retain non-volatile data, like your phone or your computer. So it's no surprise that...
Here's an interesting thing. I don't know if you knew this. Apparently, the chip situation is getting so bad. So many people don't know this, but Samsung has multiple divisions. They're not just one monolithic corporation. So they have the Samsung phone company and the Samsung chip company. So in order for the Samsung phone side to make their phones, they have to make an order request from the chip company. Right? The Samsung chip company has denied the Samsung phone company their order, apparently. So, this is affecting us in so many effed ways. What's the name of the video on YouTube? This is WTF Just Happened, the Corrupt Memory Industry in Micron. It's from Gamers Nexus.
This industry is next. Crucial's SSDs have started to reflect pricing changes already. The T705 2TB drive was $200, and just after the announcement, it skyrocketed to $265. The T500 was more widely available and was $150 on Newegg, but is now $190 on Newegg and $250 at Best Buy. Although some SSD prices are still stable, like first-party supplier Samsung's 1TB 990 Pro price or its 9100 Pro price, some of the companies buying supply are increasing prices. MSI's 1TB M480 went up from $65 to $90, an increase of 38% in 120 days. In case that was a fluke, Western Digital's SN8100 2TB drive has started to show a climb in price, now $250 from $220 120 days ago. Teams G50 has gone up to $200 on Newegg, up from $106 3 months ago. The PNY CS900 2TB SSD, that's highly ranked on Newegg, is now $153, up from $100 3 months ago, a 53% increase. The memory industry has been described as a, quote, cartel by prosecutors and by the justice system decades ago. And that's interesting, because the government has made clear what it thinks should happen to cartels. But there's one kind of cartel that doesn't get bombed from orbit: corporate. And in our opinions, they're still acting like a cartel. That's what we think. For this particular kind of cartel, it seems the bipartisan decision is to shovel as much money into it as possible. That money may have come from taxpayers using unmaintained infrastructure and struggling to pay for healthcare. But as long as stock line go up, everything is according to plan. And frustratingly, these
like
facts have pretty much always been true throughout the entire existence of a taxpayer-funded economy. It's not news. But what feels particularly bad about this one is the fact that, in the very least, for normal people, it felt like it was money being given to a company that would at least sell its shit to consumers and hopefully help create a competitive market in the system that we have. And now they're saying they
decided
don't care
not to pay my taxes anymore. Taxation is theft!
Memory is in everything. In a recent report from South Korean publication SE
Welcome
Daily,
to the dark
one
side.
line of Samsung phones was cited as having its memory cost doubling, which will be passed on to consumers. You don't even have to build gaming computers to notice the memory pricing impact. The memory industry's changes will be felt by everybody.
We'll talk about that in a sec
abandoning
before I get off
consumers is just the
stream.
literal manifestation of what's already happened silently. Anyone who buys a phone, a refrigerator, a car, a smartwatch, a smart lock, a computer, a laptop, a tablet, any of these things that have memory in it, you will be affected in some way by the price. This will be universal for basically anyone who buys modern electronics. All of these things will be affected by the memory industry as it abuses its consolidated power to chase the illusory promise of a two-lettered intelligence. There's no high note to end on here. There's no positive side to this. There's no optimistic outcome of what Micron and these other companies are actively doing and we think conspiring to do. Micron is the first of many to signal its abandonment of normal people. This isn't just about consumers now. Like, this is stuff that everybody needs in their daily life if you're living in any kind of modern society where you might need to interact at some point with an electronic device. And if you're someone who uses electronics, this is going to affect you, and it will do so increasingly. We are at the point, I think, where it's beyond simply just moving software like Adobe Photoshop to a cloud-based system so you can't buy it anymore, you have to use a license indefinitely, and now moving everything into those systems. They call it AI today. And today, that's what they're chasing. It's LLMs and whatever the fuck they think that's going to do at the end of the road when AI becomes profitable for these companies. But if that doesn't work out, or in the event it actually does and they want to substitute more revenue in there, then software as a service remains a viable option for data centers. That's what they're set up to do. So they might process a search query on ChatGPT today, or a request for ChatGPT erotica from Sam Altman himself in the future. But what they can also do is continue processing your daily computing needs in those data centers while making the hardware impossible for you to buy because you can't fucking afford it because they bought it all. That's where I think this is going. And it is infuriating to see. There's no positive I can take away from this. I think the only lever consumers have that they can pull is to stop buying. But it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, we need these devices.
Organizing a boycott is difficult, rarely has successes, and people still need this stuff to live.
Yep.
So it's not always an option. It's not that simple, especially considering the greedy data centers are happy to buy whatever you don't. They don't care. All the money's imaginary anyway. It's all investor money. It flows in a circle. So it's going to be there for them, whether or not it's there for you. That's all we have to say about this one. You can support us on the store. You go to store.gamersaccess.net if you want to support our AI Dystopia series of coverage coming up. Subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. Sorry to deliver the news. This is fucking... All right, we'll see you all next time.
Yep. It's getting brutal. So, Abby, you've decided not to pay your taxes anymore because of all this. I'm not going to tell anyone actively to or encourage people to not do this, but I'm going to say that I understand the perspective there. What was the thing one of the founders said? Hold on. There's something sinful and abhorrent. Hold on. Thomas Jefferson said, to compel a man to furnish funds for the propagation of ideas he disbelieves and abhors is sinful and tyrannical. So I understand where that perspective comes from. Now, the reality is, when it comes to paying taxes, most of us are employees, so we are paying into that system and all that. So when you file your W-2, when you file your, not W-2, you get your W-2, you file your taxes, you then basically are filing all the taxes there for the money they already have so that you get the money back potentially, or you may have to pay more money. Unless you're 1099, then you have to actually pay taxes. That's a whole other thing. But be that as it may, if you are in a business, there's ways that lots of businesses do this where they actually, on paper, operate at a loss. I know a lot of people that run their businesses this way. I don't mess with 3 and sometimes 4-letter government organizations. Yeah. So, There are many ways. This is really effed. I know. It's there's not going to be any light at the end of the tunnel for a few years to come when it comes to the issues with AI. Need self-employment, 1099, having to pay extra just to file a 1099 to tax places. Yeah, it's effed there. But it's unfortunate the situation that we're in right now. There isn't really any light at the end of the tunnel for now. We're gonna be here for a couple of years until this bubble pops. It is a bubble. There is no ifs. There is no doubts. There is no ifs, no ands, no or there is no. You get no saying. There's no doubt about it that this is a bubble. And as bad as people thought cryptocurrency was, and the effects that it was having on the GPU market and everything. We can have disputes whether you believe it or not. Even I was saying, though, there's a little bit more to it than that. Anyway, the AI issues are far greater, and what blows my mind is the comparative silence from the masses over AI compared to cryptocurrency. Remember a few years ago, everyone was up in arms. Look at the energy usage of, cryptocurrency and all these Bitcoin mining farms and, the impacts that this is having on the environment and, that they're, buying all this hardware and it's really just not doing anything and all that. But then suddenly when it comes to AI, which is actually having a realistic effect on the workforce, on the supply chain, and all these other things, I'm not hearing nor seeing nearly the same level or even a similar or greater level of disdain for the AI industry that I saw for the cryptocurrency industry. When do you think the bubble will pop? I think in part it'll be after Trump's gone. The problem is, and I'm by no means trying to make this political, but we have to look at this from an objective point of view. The problem is Trump is benefiting, is helping a lot of these AI companies and all of this because they're, helping him with this ballroom and all these other things. It's his own get-rich-quick scheme and everything like that. It's corruption out in the open. We've seen it. Okay? Until we have a return to a sense of normalcy, getting rid of these elite billionaires that are running the government and stuff like that, getting back to where we can actually have truth, justice, and the American way, as Superman said, I don't see us getting around this. It's gonna suck for a couple of years. The midterms might at most stall things. Because by the looks of it right now, and bear in mind, just so anyone's like, oh, you're just a liberal, or that. I have voted for all four parties throughout my adult, eligible for voting age life. That's right, 4 parties. And I've never voted straight down the ballot for any single party. I'll vote Green, I'll vote Libertarian, I'll vote Republican, and I'll vote Democrat, as long as the candidate matters. But yeah, the right is definitely, the Republicans are definitely going to lose hard in the midterms. We've seen it right now based on just the special elections and things that have been going on through this time. The interesting thing is when I've been looking at local elections, there have been pockets that have been dominantly Republican for years, like school board elections, things like that. There are areas that have literally never had Democrats in decades that flip blue. And there's Republicans that are resigning en masse right now because they see attaching their political career to Trump right now is toxic and will be a poison pill for them to swallow that they can't go into the midterm like that. Oh yeah, Trump's definitely scared a lot of people running away from, you know, the Republican side of things. Even the most moderate Republicans I know can't stand Trump. Can't vote for him. There's been quite a few people I knew that were always, you know, I vote Republican since Reagan kind of people. And they've been voting Democrat. Or at least on, you know, some of them went, you know, they voted gold, libertarian. But yeah. People where I live don't wear MAGA hats anymore. Yeah, don't you live in a pretty red area? That's the other thing, is nobody's really enthusiastic about Donald Trump. And I think a lot of the average everyday people have woken up to the fact that Donald Trump is a grifter and doesn't care about them. You've had farmers literally have to tell Trump to stop deporting immigrants because the farms now cannot farm effectively because they can't get enough employees, because the reality is most Americans don't want to do the jobs that immigrants are doing. I have a lot of respect for immigrants. As the son of an immigrant, I am a first-generation American, you know, a person that was born in this country. I'm the first generation in my family to do that. And the things that my family had to go through to be able to make ends meet, when they hear my grandmother was a seamstress, ran her, you know, shop, and then was cleaning houses and basically worked 2 or 3 jobs. Very red, not very red, clever. Oh, very red Tulare County, although C-Train Place 3 miles from here has a huge Trump sign still. Okay. People were very enthusiastic when Trump first got elected. I think we're at the point where the enthusiasm is pretty much dead. Well, what killed it was he railed, what I think really did it in, because I've been hearing this a lot. It wasn't just the realization that he didn't care about the average everyday person. It was the Epstein files. He himself shot himself in the foot. He ran for months saying, we're going to release the Epstein bill, you know, Epstein files and all of this. And then finally he came in. Republicans are like, yeah, let's do it. Democrats are like, yeah, let's do it. And Trump's like, hold up. Let's wait. Maybe we shouldn't do that. And then you had MAGA Mike Johnson try to do these moves about, like, well, you know, we have to protect the privacy of the, you know, the victims and all this. And like like a lot of the victims came out and said, release it. You know how bad it is when we start looking at Miss Jewish Space Laser Marjorie Taylor Greene and being like, wow, she's making rational, sensible points. Ha! And then Trump turning around, calling her Marjorie Taylor Greene because she wanted to have the Epstein files released. Like, what did Trump think was going to happen? Like every politician, you make promises, you don't keep those promises, people will remember. And mind you, this was the party that hammered so hard on, what's the politically correct term I can use for TikTok? CSAM. And stopping that whole thing. Protect the children! And he was stopping all, yeah. Look, we can go on a rant for that for a while. But yeah, I think, you know, new storyline is needed for people are tired of it. Yeah, that's what I think. People are just tired of it. And they finally are seeing that Donald Trump is just another typical politician The difference is that he is openly enriching himself. And by the way, isn't there, I think there was a special prosecutor or special whatever that actually said that when Trump leaves office, there will be indictments or whatever. I forget the proper term for it. And he will be tried for crimes. Special prosecutor. He's been very brazen with it. I don't know how he expects to get away with it. I don't know either. The reality is, you got to look into his father. I think it was Fred Trump. A lot of these issues mentally, they're genetic. Look into the final years of Fred Trump and how they treated him and how he was acting. A lot of this seems to be tracking with the dementia or mental decline that Fred Trump was experiencing with Donald Trump. He's been having health issues and all this stuff. I don't know how he's thinking he's going to get away with it, but I think he's old enough that he just doesn't care, but heads are going to roll after this is done. Like, let me put it this way. I don't care for Hillary Clinton. I've always been open about that. But I do not care for Trump even more than I do Clinton. People always say, we need age limits on our elected politicians. I agree with that. I believe that we should have no politician over the age of 70. I'm flexible on a number, but 70. Hard limit. No older than that. I could see arguments for 65. I could. Yeah, just as you said, I'd say 65. 57. Yeah. I do think we need limits. As a non-American, your age requirement to be over 35 or whatever it is weird. Yeah, that's something in the Constitution for becoming president. It's 25 for representative, 30 for senator, and 35 for president. All the people I know with decline are over 62. Yeah. I thought you said 7, LOL, what? No. 7 is the mental age of Donald Trump. But I think we should stop allowing people over 70. I noticed around age 26, my brain changed how I think. After 32, my brain changed again. So POTUS at 35 makes sense. It does in a way. I think that's one of those interesting coincidences because, you know, I think completely different than I did as a kid. I've talked about how I definitely was in my early 20s more of the anarcho-capitalist type, and then as I'm older, I'm shifting more into, I would say, what we would call a left libertarian. It's weird how that happens. Like, I do believe in safety nets. I do believe in, you know, government existing. But I think government should stay out of the bedroom and all personal issues. I'm starting to change into, you damn kids, get off my lawn. I'm turning into, damn kids, get off my lawn and don't touch my antennas. But with that being said, it has been a great time hanging out with all of you. I will be back tomorrow. I need to go to bed because I have work, but I will be back on tomorrow around the same time, 7:30ish usually. But make sure, if you haven't already, check out my links in bio for all of my socials. I'm on TikTok, Mastodon, Blue Sky, and then of course we have the Discord, we have the Matrix, we have the YouTube as well. I got a video that came out. I got more videos that are going to be coming out. I'm going to be talking about typo squatting in the next video, so you better stay tuned on the YouTubes. And of course, the links are everywhere. The links are in bio for all of you lovely people. And make sure, if you haven't already, join the Discord, join the Matrix server. We have a lovely community on both places. The Matrix server is private. All right? It's in the federated space. And the Discord server is, of course, the Discord. Now, the Discord does have a fun bot in there, so for you Arch users, it does call you out. But if you're over on Twitch, stick around for the raid. Otherwise, I will see all of you lovely people tomorrow evening. Stay safe. I love you all. And as always, happy hacking.